that the investigators have not yet left the country. We were informed that they would leave for France this past weekend. We are, however, in communication with our in-laws who are currently in France as we speak.
A leader of the ANC in Khayelitsha, Western Cape, has appeared briefly in the local magistrate's court in relation to an alleged murder of his partner last week. He allegedly shot and killed Nomonde Mshotwana on Wednesday. This has angered members of the ANC Women's League in the region. They held a protest outside the Khayelitsha Magistrates Court against the killing. The case has been postponed until Monday next week for further investigation and bail information. ANC Women's League Provincial Secretary Tozama Bevu says they condemn the killing of one of their own.
You know, I feel very bad of what happened last week. And you don't accept it. It's worse when it's somebody that you know, who you think that this person is one of our own doing this bad thing that we are fighting about all the time.
The French Prime Minister has resigned just one day after announcing the lineup of his minority government. Sébastien Lecornu has faced criticism, including from his ministers, for failing to make a break with the policies of past governments. Stocks fell sharply in the Paris exchange after the news. Lecornu gave this statement in Paris.
Être Premier ministre est une tâche difficile.
Being Prime Minister is a difficult task, probably even more so at the moment because the conditions are not right. However, for 3 weeks I have been trying to build the right conditions to pass a budget for France. But working with the opposition, I got the feeling we were always taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Recapping the top story, the ANC has identified 10-point plan to increase growth, create jobs and end poverty. This came out at the end of its 3-day special NEC meeting in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg earlier today. I'm on Dilambana for SFM News headlines at 3:30.
Women's most capped ODI player, Chiefs and Pirates both headed to Lubumbashi, and South Africa backs rugby champs rethink. More details at 3:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.1 FM in Johannesburg. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
I can tell you now, having had this, I was asked, in fact, by Bridget, Ashraf, how was your weekend? And my answer was, did you relax? And my answer was that, no, in fact, I didn't work on the weekend. But increasingly so, weekends for me are becoming days where they are structured in a series of activities over 2 days or 2.5 days that you enjoy, right? But you find yourself just unable to, what's that story? Put your feet down and even just read a book. And I wonder if that's the case for you as well. So it's a weekend that's not work, but in reality, your time is as structured as it would be in a normal, day's work, Monday to Friday, that sort of thing. Well, you can share your own thoughts because I want to know, right? And how do you fix it? Not that I'm complaining about the activities. A lot of it, what I did, I really, really enjoyed, okay? Maybe that's the point. Too many activities. Right, my name's Ashraf Garda. This is the National Pulse. The big activity of the weekend was confirmation of that suggestion a few days ago that the 3 political parties, the Good Party, Rise Mzansi and Build One South Africa, will unite. In this case now, we know they will unite for change. But how united will they be, and how much change will they be able to effect, okay? So I wonder what you think about that. You can call in now as well, 086 000 2032. We'll take your call as soon as we get a moment or so. And you can also WhatsApp us, 0614 104 107. So when you heard about this coming together of 3 political parties, and I understand it's going to be 3 parties as in one, as opposed to, a collaboration of sorts, right? I wonder what you make of that. But we do have, now we know that earlier on today, Songezo Zibi from the Rise Mzansi, he was a guest on Tulasa Show. Do listen out for that podcast. So let's get another take on this with Brett Herron who's the Secretary General of the Good Party. Brett, appreciate your time and thanks for connecting to us on the National Pulse. Brett, hi.
Hello.
Yeah, you're
Thank
live.
you.
You're live. You certainly are. Thank you for joining us. So first things first, what do we introduce you as? Secretary General of the Good Party or as part of Unite for Change?
Well, I mean, I guess currently I'm both because the Good Party will have to continue to exist until 2029. The South African electoral system doesn't allow political parties to merge. Otherwise, you lose your seats. And we have almost 50 public representatives across 4 provinces. So the 3 parties that have initiated this Unite for Change will retain their identities and continue to represent the mandate that they got in the 2024 elections. But yes, we also start transitioning towards leading Unite for Change.
So explain the process then in terms of, yes, separate identity for now, but in reality, I can think about, the parties having caucus meetings every single day nowadays, right? So in terms of this transition, practically what's going to happen on a daily or weekly basis?
Well, I mean, obviously we have been meeting very, very regularly for months now. I mean, and actually in some cases in different constellations for years. I mean, we were talking long before 2024 even those elections took place. So we will be now moving into campaign mode for the 2026 elections. So the next step is to announce the opening of an application or a recruitment process for quality, credible candidates around the country. And we have to register the party with the IEC, and we have to find mayoral candidates for certainly the major metros and some of the key municipalities. So there's a lot of work still to be done, and this work will be part of what happens as we meet on, at least a couple of times a week over the next few months.
Okay. I mean, the name of the new, I can say party, right? So Unite for Change, because I mean that's just one of the issues that was being rumored about. Is it a coalition of 3 parties that'll always retain their identity but agree to jointly fight elections, or a new party? So the plan I now understand is it's going to be a new party, but it'll take a while to get there.
Yeah, it will be a new party. The first election we will contest as Unite for Change will be the 2026 local government elections. BOSA, Good, Rise, and any of the other parties that we are still engaged with or engaging with to join us, they will not contest. We will not contest the 2026 elections as BOSA, Good, or Rise. We will be Unite for Change, and all our current councillors that Good has, our supporters, and hopefully many, many more people who have not been attracted to any political party in South Africa, but who like the idea of uniting for change, will join us. So BOSA, Good, and Rise will see out their terms of office to 2029, but we expect that the focus now is on 2026 local government election.
All right, but then therefore in that local government election now, is it a fair bet to say that you will contest as 3 separate parties, but in reality that the voter will know that a vote for one of the parties in effect, de facto, would mean a vote for all 3 parties anyway, yeah?
No, we will contest in 2026 as Unite for Change, as one political party with one manifesto, with one leadership structure. So it is a new political party that will be on the ballot paper, but the constituent parties that are forming this Unite for Change will not be on the ballot. So it's a new party with a common set of values, a common manifesto that we will announce. So we're not asking, this is not a variation of the Moonshot Pact or the Multi-Party Charter.
Right.
This is a new political party this is uniting parties that share similar values and policies and bringing them under one.
And then you made the point that right now, if you merged as a party right now, you'd lose your parliamentary seats. So just to be clear again, then so you contest the municipal election as one party, and when do you contest the general election as one party?
So we contest 2026 as Unite for Change, and that's our focus now. And then the long-term objective is that we work towards 2029. And I mean, it's not only a political objective to unite and offer South Africans a viable alternative where they don't have to choose between their values and capabilities. We're going to unite capabilities and values into one political party, and then build towards 2029. But as I said, the political parties that join this process who have public reps may not. We're prohibited from merging, but we also have electoral mandates that we received in the 2024 elections that we need to honor.
Okay. At this point in time, it's 3 parties, right? Are there more that are expected to join up soon?
Yeah, so I mean, there are a number of political parties and individuals, high-profile individuals outside of politics who have not, as I said, ever joined a political party, but who are enthused by this idea of uniting. So there are other political parties, but every party has their own internal structures and processes, including their constitution. So some political parties need to go to a national conference in order to get a resolution to join this process, and others are engaging with the concept. So I think over the next few weeks and months we will see others join us, both local parties and hopefully some of the national parties that we are engaged with.
Okay, let's rewind to the why factor. Of course, we know the political terrain. One doesn't have to go into too much explanation, but there had to be a reason why, like-minded parties came together and decided they're going to effectively strip their own identities for a greater goal, right? But the end goal would be what?
Well, the why really is self-evident. I mean, first of all, there were far too many political parties on the 2024 election ballot. And as we understand it, recently announced, I mean, the IEC is talking about 60 new parties, 60 have registered to contest the local government elections. So this proliferation of political parties that are anchored around personalities and not necessarily differences of policy or values is not what South Africans seem to want if you look at the 2024 election results. And we certainly saw as good how our votes from 2019 and 2021 were split amongst the parties that we're now joining, because voters could, we demanded from voters that choose between 3 parties who arguably you could hardly tell the difference between based on what the offerings were in terms of manifestos and policies. So it's about consolidation for the purpose, it's consolidating and uniting for the sake of the voters and not for ourselves, and solving that problem of this proliferation of political parties, the fragmentation of votes, and the weakening of parties because our votes are so fragmented. So we pool not only our support and grow our support, but we also pool the experience and the skills and the talent that lies across the 3 parties, but that is not all housed in one party.
All right, so just at this point in time, if you collect or bring together 3 parties' percentage of votes in the last election, I'm talking general, what's the percentage of votes or seats you have now?
So if we were to combine the 3-party vote turnout from 2024, we would be, I think, about the same level as the Patriotic Alliance in the National Assembly with 6 members of Parliament. And currently we have 2 and 1, and then we have 3 MPLs, members of provincial legislatures, 2 in Gauteng and 1 in the Western Cape. But there's another dynamic at local government elections that we must remember, that there's the constituency or the ward-based election process where it's first past the post. So if we were to go into a ward, and we've analyzed wards where Good will get 10% or 10% of the vote, or 10 votes, say Rise gets 10, Bosa gets 10, and some other party gets 12. And that party would be the winner because it's first past the post. But the 3 of us combined, if we combined our votes, we would have won that ward. So it's actually about consolidating and to be bigger than the sum of our parts.
Yeah. Well, I would take it if consolidating the three parties gives you a similar vote to what you've had in the last election, you'd be very disappointed with that. Now, I'm suggesting, therefore, you've done some market research on this. Trends would tell you where you're going to go. What then are the serious expectations going into the local government election, and then even now at an early stage for the next general election?
So, look, exactly as you say, if the result was just a sum of our parts, and we didn't actually shift the political terrain and encourage young people and people who don't participate and disaffected voters from other political parties to rally around this call to unite for change, we would be disappointed, because the purpose is not just to go 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It's to actually encourage others to get behind this. So, I mean, I'm not in a position to unpack projections, and we actually are still in the process of identifying which municipalities are absolutely strategic, and maybe which ones we won't contest. We haven't reached that conclusion yet, but that work is happening.
Right. I'm particularly interested in the leadership of the party, which I'll ask you about next.
Sure.
EFC is live this Thursday. The man of the people, Billy Wisdason,
if you're inside here and you give up, then you're not supposed to be inside here,
steps up to challenge the Zambian champion, Ken Sekeletu, for his interim EFC featherweight title.
this is the moment I've been waiting for, this is the moment I've been training for, and this is the moment why I came to South Africa.
EFC 128, live from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC One's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to the Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Right, continuing, we're going to conclude our chat with Brad Haran, the Secretary General of the Good Party, but now part of a different power base, which is Rise Mzansi, Build One South Africa, and the Good Party, and they're calling themselves Unite for Change. Not yet officially on the ballot sheet, but that clearly is the plan for the 2026 local government election and then the 2029 general election. Brett, let's talk about leadership. And I've certainly heard some of the comments coming from, let's call them the big three, that in fact it would be a council of leaders as opposed to one leader. I do find that rather puzzling at a time where political parties, by and large, are driven by one iconic leader. The obvious example is Nelson Mandela.
Well, I mean, there's a number of reasons for it. First of all, the putting together of Unite for Change is not complete. There are, as I already alluded to before we took the break, there are political parties who still need to get conference resolutions and resolutions from their leadership structures to be part of this. And if we were to choose a leader now from amongst us, that would exclude some parties who've contested several general elections from being. It would almost create a barrier, perhaps, to entry or to joining us. So it would be unwise to anoint a leader when the process of fully establishing Unite for Change, including parties that want to join us, is incomplete. The other thing is that the idea that we need to have a leader is largely a culture around the politics of personality, and we want to get beyond that, because this is not really about the political leaders. It's really about the voters and the people of South Africa. And if you were to ask any leader of any political party in South Africa, well, most political parties in South Africa, they would say that they are part of a collective leadership. What they do and what they say derives its mandate, or they derive their mandate from a decision taken at a leadership council or leadership committee or a federal executive committee. If you're talking about the DA, there's no political leader who makes decisions alone. So this is a collective leadership. We will go to an elective conference. We've committed in terms of our agreement by December 2027, and we are innovating around a collective leadership.
Okay, let's see how that goes. By the way, there's a quick question from a listener. Let's hear that.
The new 3-in-1 party. This is a very uncomplicated question. Just simple yes or no would be sufficient. Are you for or against the privatization of state assets? Thank you.
Okay, quick question. For or against privatization of assets?
Well, I'm not sure that I fully understand the question, but let me say this. There are obviously some state assets that are suitable for privatization, or the use of them is suitable for privatization. And if you look at passenger rail, for example, sharing the infrastructure to provide a public transport system that works would benefit from privatization or private access to the network. But I mean, we're also a political party that is still working out a lot of policy positions. We've worked out several for local government, but we have certainly not discussed every single question that you could possibly be asked. So I'm giving you a common sense answer, and that is not an answer that has yet been resolved amongst us as we
perhaps just for now. Perhaps the most important one is why in the political terrain, with different political parties having different policies and therefore different constituencies, what tells you that these three parties have sufficient consensus to form one party? What is it about all three that says we can work together?
Well, when we after months and months and months of engaging, we agreed a set of values. We agreed that we would be guided by Chapter 2 of our Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights, which is creates or requires our state to conduct itself in a social democratic way. So there's a strong social justice element in Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights. We share that commonality. And so the commonalities around values and the commitment to the state implementing Chapter 2 of the Constitution as a mandate rather than something that South Africans need to fight for. And then the 5 pillars that we've agreed to focus on in the 2026 local government elections. There's enough commonality amongst us. There's far more that unites us than divides us.
Well, look, we'll certainly talk about policy in detail down the line. I understand you will not have every answer on that one. But having said that, and here's the last thing, right? What for you, as the three parties, represents the single greatest challenge that you face right now?
As the parties?
Yeah, as this collective now, as United for Change.
I think the single greatest challenge as Unite for Change is the amount of time that we have to share the message of uniting for change, which is, I mean, we have done it, but this is really a call to action to South Africans, and to get that message to every corner of this country in what is, the election is November 2026, most likely. So we've got 12 months to launch this brand and to spread it. So our biggest challenge is time.
Okay, let's leave it at that. There's so much more we can talk about, but I think all those things will develop over the next few days, if not months, right? Brett Herron, the Secretary General of the Good Party, and now part of this coming together of three parties, Rise Mzansi, Build One South Africa, and the Good Party in what is now called Unite for Change. Thanks for your time. Let's get some quick comments from you.
Hey, good afternoon, Ashraf. I hope these parties are really going to unite the nation and not be like Floyd Shivambu and then leave this party in few years' time going up and down saying, I'm the one who formed that united party. like Floyd, who's saying, I'm the one who formed EFF. Zuma wanted me to be a president. This and this and this, always uttering this kind of words. So I just hope that they are really going to unite the nations. Thanks.
Hope from you. I wonder what everybody else thinks. What do you think, listening to us talking about Unite for Change? Does that resonate with you or not? Let me just do that. Here we are.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I just want to have a comment with regards to the jointing of the three new parties, BOSA, Good Party, and Rise Mzansi. One thing I can say is that it's not a bad idea. Me personally, as an African National Congress member, I think it's not a bad idea, because in no way, shape, or form can they be a threat to the African National Congress. But I think it's a good idea for them to take over the numbers of that Mayibuye questionable party, in my opinion. Daniel here in Bryanston.
The Mayibuye questionable party, as you call it. Okay, I got that. And let's just see this one other quick one before we get to the news headlines. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and the listeners of the show. Ashraf, we are in a political transfer window at the moment. We've been hearing these same promises for the last 10 years. We can count them from fixing potholes. We can count them. We can count anything from electricity, but they keep making the same promises like Kaizer Chiefs and redoing their mistakes over and over again. I know their nature at the moment, Prima by Project.
Thanks, Brian. I noted the Kaizer Chiefs thing, and I wonder what your Kaizer Chiefs supporters will say about that. I did say, by the way, when Floyd Shivambu moved to the MK party, I said that was the political transfer of the season. But as we know, with some high-profile transfers, they don't always work out, and he's moved on, and very, very quickly at that. 3:30, here's the news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi says he remains a member of the ANC in good standing. He says ANC Secretary General Fiki Lambalula's utterances that his ANC membership has expired were unwarranted and simply overreach. The ANC has identified a 10-point plan to increase growth, create jobs and poverty. This came out at the end of its 3-day special NEC meeting in Boksburg, Johannesburg area today. The head of the UN Agency for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, says bowing down to pressure to reform the Convention of an Asylum will be a catastrophic error. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good afternoon. We start in the northwest on the N4 driving eastbound. So from Rustenburg through to Pretoria, the road remains closed at Mooinooi. So from Mooinooi through to Bapong, that section of the N4, Pretoria bound is closed. That's due to the cash and transit heist which happened earlier this morning. The westbound that was closed has opened up. So you can get out to Rustenburg straight through, but you can't come in from Rustenburg towards Pretoria still at this stage. Jedburgh crash on the M1 south at Beyers Nordia. Traffic backing up towards Malabongwe Drive. N3 north into the Clue is heavy into the roadworks, and there's a breakdown and some construction on the N3 south at Van Buren, so quite heavy getting through Galilees. N3 from Linksfield, N12 and R24, it's parking back to their respective Edenvale exits. Now if you're going out of Durban up towards Pietermaritzburg, big truck crash, the road is closed, effectively you can't get through the Cliffdale area due to that big truck crash. The road is closed and blocked, and traffic all the way back through Shongweni and almost back towards Marion Hill Plaza. If you're going out of Durban towards Pietermaritzburg, consider that old road off in the M13, get out through Hillcrest, Old Main, and come back on somewhere like in Chunga. And Cape Town this afternoon looking generally okay. You can see it's school holidays with lighter volumes across the highways. Just that N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard starting to backlog out towards Hospital Bends. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Khapele.
Right, Trimi, good to see you after 3-4 days away, apart. This is the nature of...
I should say welcome back to you.
Thank you, and to you too, right? Okay, you got a story about the Proteas women, yeah?
Proteas women. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Nonkululeko Mlaba was the star of the day for the Proteas women as she helped restrict New Zealand to 231 all out in their must-win Women's Cricket World Cup clash in Indore. Both teams are looking for their first win of the World Cup after losing their respective opening games. After deciding to bat first, captain Sophie Devine shouldered the White Ferns innings with a second consecutive ODI half-century. The Proteas were off to a great start as Marizanne Kapp got the early wicket of a veteran batter Susie Bates, who was trapped at LBW. Then New Zealand fell for 44 for 2 before a partnership between Georgia Plummer and Captain Devine got the White Ferns back on track. Brooke Halliday broke a real spark for New Zealand's innings, but Mlamba broke that 86-run stand as Halliday was caught and bowled for 45 off 37 balls. Devine looked like she was the one that was going to hold things off. However, Mlamba striked again, and Devine ended on 85 of 98 balls after she was bowled out by Mlamba. Now, New Zealand lost 5 wickets for 19 runs and were bundled out for 231 in the 48th over. South Africa currently batting right now. They're in the 3rd over. They're already on 29 for 1 loss, with Laura Fulvard unfortunately being the wicket that fell. Tasman Bretts and Snay Lees at the crease. They currently need 203 runs in 46 overs to win. Meanwhile, all-rounder Marizanne Kapp has become South Africa's women's most capped player in women's ODI international history at 155 ODIs. It's one more than Mignon Dupree, who last played for the national side back in 2022. In her 16 career so far, the 35-year-old has scored 3,307 runs, which includes 4 100s and 15 half-centuries, and she has also scored 170 wickets to her name, the most by a bowler for her country after Shabnim Ismail by 191. Then in rugby, SA Rugby is reportedly supporting Rugby Australia CEO Phil Ward's proposal for the Rugby Championship format from 2027. The SANZA tournament won't be played in 2026 when the Springboks host the All Blacks in an 8-match great rivalry tour, including 3 tests. From 2027, War wants to adopt a traditional home and away format for the Rugby Championship rather than switching to a tours-based structure. In the meantime, Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus says that it's always better to learn lessons than while winning than while losing. Erasmus was speaking after South Africa made history by clinching their first ever back-to-back Rugby Championship title.
Argentina came out really playing well and loosening the game up, and we missed a few tackles and so on. We got a yellow card, obviously. I'm not criticizing the referee, but I'm pretty sure the one Cannon was lucky that the one that he tapped back, there was almost 2 yellow cards there. Could have, if I were Filippo, I would say, wasn't that maybe a red card? They wanted 1 or 2 each of them that I thought, that might have been more than a yellow. So overall, obviously, I'm not blaming the referee. I'm just saying there was close calls that could have changed the game even more. But we always knew Argentina, they've got massive fight in them. They take you to the gutters, and we had to swim there in the gutters with them.
South Africa beat Argentina 29-27. In football, Kaizer Chiefs assistant coach Cedric Kaze says that the club will deal with goalkeeper Ndwari's penalty substitution refusal internally. This is after the Rwandan international defied instructions in their Carling Knockout Cup elimination against Stellenbosch FC. Now, with the game headed for penalties after a goalless draw at Cape Town Stadium, Chiefs had lined up Bruce Vuma to replace Ndwari in the dying minutes of extra time, but the 25-year-old stood his ground and refused to come off, forcing the technical team to abort the change. Then Chiefs went on to lose the shootout 5-4, and Kaze insists that this matter would be resolved within the club's structures.
I believe in that kind of situation, it's something that we're gonna handle internally. But he felt that he was comfortable to go on the penalty and help the team. He was coming from a good intention. Maybe the way wasn't as good as it should be, but it's something that we will address internally.
Elsewhere, Chelsea defender Reece James has withdrawn from the England squad due to injury and had been replaced by Man City midfielder Nico O'Reilly, who received his first senior international call-up. Imagine, Ashraf, you are the goalkeeper, and I'm telling you, please Can we exchange?
Please, you're like saying, come off.
Off, basically.
Your prerogative as a
and
coach,
you're like,
right?
no, I'm confident in myself. And then you go out and lose.
Oh, goodness.
Sure.
But it happened once with, who was this goalkeeper? I think from Chelsea. And I can't remember who the coach was, but maybe I got the names wrong.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a case of, I'll say, it's like they had this fight, this actual argument. Sure. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It was crazy.
I think for me right now, I'm wondering what is going through Ndwari's mind, because I'm sure he thought, no, man, I can do this.
But the bigger question is what goes through the mind of the coach in terms of the club structure, because you can't undermine a coach, can you?
Yeah.
You just can't.
You
Not
can't.
in a public space like that. And get away with it. And you didn't get away with it. Yeah.
Well, I have more on other sports in the next hour.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So there's been lots of conversations. By the way, firstly, on the Unite for Change, feel free to give me your comments. And maybe specifically, right, even now, how do you think, how well will they do in the local government election coming up in a year's time? In percentage terms, how well do you think they will do? Do they appeal to you as this centrist party? We'll talk about Nigeria in a moment. There's been reports from Nigeria that suggest there's a genocide against Nigerian Christian communities by the Muslim Nigerian Muslims. That's been refuted by others as well. We'll certainly get a thought on that coming up soon. But in the meantime, let me tell you now that coming up later on, we'll play part of an interview that Brian Mokhotsi has had with the SABC News, but that comes up later. But here's one issue, and we're going to play this now. Is he a member of the African National Congress? Is he a paid-up member? The Secretary General of the ANC says no. Brian Mokhotsi says there's nothing grey about it. Yes.
I've seen those communications and the utterances by the Secretary General. But let me confirm something to you. I'm a member of the ANC in good standing. I have also, attempted to send you some proof that my membership only expires at the end of October. But it is not the Secretary General who has the power to do that. My branch, which I have communicated with, and they are aware that my membership only expires at the end of October.
Interesting. We're talking about goalkeepers and coaches and having differences. I mean, here's a member of the ANC and the Secretary General saying, you're not a member of the ANC, and you saying, I am a member. Never mind what the Secretary General says. That's like a coach and a player all in one. I mean, that's it in one manifestation. Right, let's talk Nigeria in a moment.
Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
So there has been reports and maybe conflicting reports coming out of Nigeria. There's been one report, and it's emanated from the USA, by the way, that there's a massive attack on Christian communities. You know, Nigeria, sizable Christian and sizable Muslim communities, right? And the claim is that more than 50,000 Christians have been killed in the past 14 years. And the accusation, or the allegation has been there's a genocide in Nigeria. There's also been counter arguments to that, to say that's been completely dramatized by some of these talk show hosts in the USA, right? So what is the story really? Eniola Daniel is a reporter with The Guardian Nigeria. Thank you for connecting with us on the National Pulse, Eniola.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Right, so what then is the state of play? Nigeria, sizable Muslim and sizable Christian communities, are they at war with each other or not?
Well, we want to believe that the Nigerian community, the Christian and Muslim communities are not at war. But mind you, the Christian or the Muslim community in southwest of Nigeria is quite different from the Muslim community in the northern part of the country, and that has been the issue for ages. So we want to believe that we are not at war generally with the Muslim, but it seems some extremists in the northern part of the country see themselves as enemies to the Christians community over there.
Now, one thing is seeing yourself as an enemy or even different. I mean, I think, there are different persuasions, even in South Africa, of the same people with different political parties. People do see themselves differently. But the question is, how far do you take the seeing the different? Now, is that happening? Are groups taking their differences so far as to create massive divisions within them to the point of loss of life on a huge scale? Not one or two incidences, but on a huge scale.
Yeah, there's massive campaign, and I think politics is also part of the contributions to the menace. Nigeria in the last election, 2023, we have a Muslim ticket for the second time in the history of the country. But secondly, we have two people who many Nigerians consider very divided. We have the Kashim Shettima who is our vice president. He came as with the emblem of being an extremist. He came with that notion. Many Nigerians see him as an extremist. Due to the fact that the last time a terrorist leader was said to have been found in one of his apartments in Abuja. So coming there actually created a division, mistrust, and so also Nigeria was Nigeria play a long. Religion is a big issue when it comes to Nigeria. Religion is a big issue, and we thought it's actually not the time where we have a Muslim ticket, having our former Muhammadu Buhari as the former president. He also was a Muslim, and he also came with the emblem of being an extremist. Many Nigerians actually saw Muhammadu Buhari as an extremist. So coming after leaving the office and also having somebody of almost the same idea, same religious idea, was also a blow for the country, not for the political scene alone, but also for our own general ways of life. So the last election came as a threat to national unity, and this is actually happening. This is so. When Muhammadu Buhari, as the former president, when he came, attacks also increased on the northern part of the country, and the Christian community, especially in Nasarawa, in Plateau State, in Adamawa, and Sokoto State. So the burning of churches, and also a former aide of the president of Nigeria, that is Ahmad Bashar, came publicly and tweeted on X, formerly known as Twitter, that he supports killings in the name of blasphemy, that anyone who criticized the prophet Muhammad should be put, that he supports the killing of such person. So having such person with such an extreme view was also a threat to our unity. After making that tweet, the man was not sacked by the former president. He was not sacked. He remained in the office with the former president after having a very divided view when it comes to politics. So that has been what has been going on for almost a decade.
All right. I think the question then is, yes, you're going to have people who are political leaders who come from a certain persuasion religiously, be it Christian or Muslim or Jewish or Rastafari or Hindu. That may not particularly make them extremists because they hold on to their faith. And I can think of hundreds of leaders who do just that anyway, right? The question, how does that fit into the Nigerian structure of Nigerian life? Meaning that if you find that there are people in some parts of Nigeria that has a certain interpretation of their faith and they want to express that by their faith by a certain penal law within the Nigerian society, and others want to do it differently, does Nigerian law allow for that? That means allowing cultural or religious practices to dominate their lives outside of what may be the country's constitution, as we would see it?
Yes. As it is today, Nigeria actually operates different two sides of the constitution. The same way constitution is being interpreted in certain parts of the country is not the same way constitution is being interpreted in the northern part of the country. In Nigeria today, Sharia law work in the northern part of the country, and early this year, the Muslim community in the southwest have also been advocating for Sharia law to be implemented in the southwest of the country, which the monarchs and some of the governors also objected. So Nigeria is run on two constitutions. So you can commit, if you the courts, some cases are not being heard in the court of law, in the neutral or secular court of law. Some cases are being heard in Sharia, and when Sharia law came in place, Sharia law was basically meant to deal with everybody who associates himself as a Muslim. But now Sharia law is being applied to Christians in the northern part of the country. So it's a threat on our unity. So,
okay.
But mind you, Muslim in certain parts of the country or southwest states in Nigeria have this different view from the Muslims in the northern part of the country. There has not been any religious war in the southern part of the country. I want the world to know that there has not been a religious war in the southern part of the country, but they know there have been killings and there have been uprisings in a religious way.
All right, just the last thing, and then we need to conclude. I mean, so to go back to the original point, Bill Maher, who's a political talk show host in the USA, he said, "I'm not a Christian, but they are systemically killing the Christians in Nigeria," right? So he said this a few weeks ago. That's been refuted by many Nigerians who say there's a very difference from, outbreaks of killings versus systemic, which is an act of genocide. How has Nigerian society responded to that? And I say that because, South Africa has also been accused of acts of genocide by some people in the USA, as you're well aware of.
Okay, yes. Look, I want you to pay attention to X, which was formerly Twitter. Those who are claiming that there is no genocide in Nigeria, go and check. They are mostly Muslims. They are either Muslim or supporter of the current government. I think Christians have been largely quiet on the issue because once you come out to speak about this, you get countered. So it's an issue. Go and check why you have many people who are claiming that there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria. Go and check their names. These guys are mostly Muslim who are claiming there is no genocide in Nigeria. Mind you, I want the world to also know that Muslims are also being killed in the northern part of the country. But this is being perpetrated by the so-called Muslims. The Nigerian government is still having meetings with terrorists during the day. The Nigerian government is having holding meetings with terrorists. Terrorists attack so many communities, and terrorists ride on hundreds of bikes unchallenged.
All right, let's leave it at that. All right, I think the point is taken, and of course many of us may want to Google it or check it out on the Twitter or X platform. And Yola Daniel, reporter with The Guardian Nigeria, much appreciate your time and sharing your insights from that part of the world. This is the National Pulse.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, let's move on to another important issue, but back home, that is, members of the civic movement Soil of Africa, right? They've marched to the Department of Home Affairs head office today. Well, why? To demand that their identity documents be unblocked. You got that? Their ID documents be unblocked as per the court ruling of last year. According to the Soil of Africa, SOA, previous meetings with the Department of Home Affairs yielded no results. So let's find out more about it with Sedibana Biyana, the Deputy Chairperson of the Soil of Africa. Thank you for your time. Much appreciate you joining us on the National Pulse. Sedibana, hello.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for your time, right? Okay, so this sounds rather complicated. Give me some context to this.
Give you some...
Give us some context to the demand to have ID documents unblocked. Yeah, and the march.
Yeah, no, the march, we slept here at Beggars Park yesterday, from yesterday. There's people from Limpopo and Eastern Cape, KZ, and we're having people from Mpumalanga as well, Akon Hook and stuff. They converged on Beggars Park last night from me, early in the morning. These people are disgruntled about the issues of their IDs, which have been blocked for more than 20 years or so. Their IDs have been blocked. So they cannot even have ordinary lives that we others are having the luxury of living.
Why have they been blocked? Why have these IDs been blocked?
You know, the issues of the Home Affairs, corruption, and other things related to the matter. We were told that these people, they are alleged to have been people from outside of the country. That's the issue that they are tabling with us. And the other thing is that they are not sure about the IDs, if they are really their IDs or not. Maybe some may have gotten them fraudulently or otherwise. I don't know. That's what they told us today.
Okay, so from your side then, what is the end goal from the protests that you want to see achieved?
No, the angle that we took today was that we're going to block all the Home Affairs offices today, and that's what we did. At least we managed 3 out of 4. We managed to close the National Key Point 1, and we closed the one nearest court, and we closed the one down there, which is named Hallmark or so. So our angle is that by so doing, we want to drive the issue of these IDs to be unblocked immediately with immediate effect.
Okay. Has there been a response from Home Affairs today, both to the closure
we did,
and then to your request or your demand?
Yes, we did, because previously we gave these people a memorandum which stated all our grievances on it. And we've had a previous meeting around the table, a meeting with them to say, no, we shall do so. Give us at least 50 of this blocked IDs so that we can deal with them. Today we were told the same thing, to say, no, we've received this memorandum and therefore we are doing whatever it is we can to unblock this ID. Can you give us 100 so that we can start with the processes again? Because the first 50 that you gave us failed us this money. We cannot continue with the 50 that you gave us in the first place. But now you can give us another 100 and we'll deal with it immediately, starting from tomorrow. That's the angle that we took with them.
And what is their response? What are they saying?
Their response was that they have the court order that came from the Constitutional Court saying that they should unblock this ID. So they are aware of the time frame that was given to them, which is only 15 months left from the 24 months that was given to them initially. Now, the issue is that they're going to put everything on hold so that they can accommodate our people by tomorrow, not any less than tomorrow. By tomorrow, they're going to be starting with the ID issues and sorting them out.
Okay, I tell you what, we need to get a response from the Home Affairs as well in terms of how they see it. Thank you for your time. And again, if people have been protesting, I'd like to get their own thoughts on that. Sedibana Biyana, or Deputy Chair of Soil of Africa, thank you for your time. So there's further comments from you. Let me just pick them out. Yes, in fact, there's one for Tumi, but I'll ask her that when I see her again just now. There's a couple of others on the issues of South African leadership. But here's one on blocked IDs.
Good afternoon, SFM and fellow listeners. You know, for me, it's very interesting. Here we go again, horror affairs. Blocking people's ID, and now it's over here. They're in contempt of court. And people now have to march and strike and jump through hoops of fire to prove that, they are South Africans. To me, why block the ID? What evidence do you have that is legitimate for you to block a person's ID? And it's going to be very interesting for me to check with IEC whether those people have voted, and then you run a cross-reference to when the ID was blocked and bank accounts and all that. This is going to be a very interesting scoop, eh? Journalists, get digging.
Sounds like you are so excited. You should become a journalist yourself. Like I just think about the whole news cycle comes and you're like, wow, this is exciting, man.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf. We're moving into this phase of politics whereby centralization of power has taken over the people's will. Remember when ANC went into GNU, they didn't consult with the branches and see what do the branches want. And right now we have these political parties that merged without going to the voters and asking voters. So it's all about the leadership. They take decisions that favor them. It's not about us on the ground.
Okay, decisions that favor them in this centralized thing. But I'll tell you what, in terms of Unite for Change, let's see how that plays out. So they're going to be consensus-driven. If you think of the GNU, that's supposed to be consensus-driven of parties. So this is consensus-driven by three major political players, or maybe a super 10. And let's see how they play out around issues every single day. Right, let's get the news. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, Mokgotsi refutes claims he's not an ANC member, and ANC announces its 10-point plan for economic growth. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. Controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi says he remains a member of the ANC in good standing. His comments come after ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula told journalists last week that Mokgotsi's membership of the ANC had expired. Mokgotsi, who has been linked to alleged criminal underworld boss of Vusumuzi Ket Matlala, says Mbalula's utterances that his ANC membership has expired were unwarranted and simply overreach. Mbalula told journalists last week that Mokgotsi's membership of the ANC had expired. Mokgotsi refutes that.
I've seen those communications and the utterances by the Secretary General. But let me confirm something to you. I'm a member of the ANC in good standing. I have also, attempted to send you some proof that my membership only expires at the end of October. But it is not the Secretary General who has the power to do that. My branch, which I have communicated with, and they are aware that my membership only expires at the end of October.
The ANC has identified a 10-point plan to increase growth, create jobs and end poverty. This came after the end of its 3-day special NEC meeting in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg, earlier today. Despite remaining far below the level needed to reduce high levels of poverty and inequality, the country's growth rate improved in the second quarter of 2025, reaching its fastest in 2 years. But ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa says there is a lot that still needs to be done. He unveiled his party's intervention to reignite growth in the economy.
The first intervention is to use electricity tariffs and investment in transmission to drive economic activity. This means preferential electricity tariffs for ferrochrome and manganese as well as steel. The second intervention is to accelerate the recovery of our freight and logistics sector. The third intervention is to rebuild our chrome and manganese industries. The NEC resolved that the fourth intervention must be to improve the capacity of the state to manage major projects, to address infrastructure delays due to weak capacity.
Some students attending the Tshwane University of Technology's Safety Campus campaign at the University of Pretoria West Campus believe the initiative will help raise awareness about crime within the student community. The campaign is a joint effort between the SAPS and the Department of Higher Education and Training. It aims to combat crime at schools and tertiary institutions located in high crime spots. Safety and security remain a major challenge at various campuses across the country. Here's what some of the students had to say.
I believe that it's very important because it brings awareness to students. It also ensures, it gives us insurance that we are safe. The university is taking our safety seriously by bringing awareness. We've got security at the gate, we've got security around campus as well.
To alert awareness about crime, I think for us as students as well to take it serious and to, maybe take precautions in our everyday life.
Truly, I don't know, but the crime rates here, I wouldn't say they're that high. Yeah, there's a bit of you can smuggle in alcohol, drugs there and there, but I wouldn't say there's much of a crime rate.
Kabelo Chabalala is part of the university's advocacy group on GBV, making use of the institution's campus radio platform to carry the message across.
We have shows that are specifically focusing on how do we cap GBV within the student community. That would include our RSs. The listenership would comprises of quite a lot of students, those that live on campus and on off campus. We also have our internal programs within the institution. For example, the Soshanguve campus is where the research chair that focuses on GBV and campus safety rests. We also have other different programs that we're working on within the institution, including the GBV desk that is at our arts campus.
The trial of a farmer, Zachariah Olivier, and his employee, William Mosora, is expected to resume today in the High Court in Polokwane, Limpopo. Olivier is accused of the murder of 2 women at his pig farm in Isibayeng in August last year. The remains of Maria Machato and Kudzaindlo were allegedly disposed of in a pigsty. Charges against Rudolf Divet, who worked as a supervisor at the farm, have been dropped. This after he turned state witness. The head of the UN Agency for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, says bowing down to pressure to reform the Convention on Asylum will be a catastrophic error. US President Donald Trump is expected to call for restricting the right to asylum at the UN later this month. The BBC's Mimi Swabi has the details.
It's a critical time for the UNHCR. Funding has been slashed and the principle of asylum is more divisive than ever. US officials have urged other nations to join their campaign to roll back asylum protections, frameworks dating back to after the Second World War. They say migrants should seek asylum in the first country they enter. As conflicts around the globe continue to drive displacement, the UN Agency for Refugees faces the most severe budget cuts in its history, a 25% funding reduction. Addressing an annual meeting, Mr. Grandi blamed devastating donor cuts, as many Western powers prioritise defence spending over aid.
Recapping the top story, controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokhodzi says he remains a member of the ANC in good standing. He says ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula's utterance that his ANC membership has expired were unwarranted and simply overreach. I'm on Dilambana for SFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Proteas women 68 for 1 after 12 overs. They need 164 runs in 37 overs to win. And Barca relishing Carling Knockout Cup win over Hoodoo team Kaizer Chiefs. And late heartbreak for Lions as URC winless none continues. More details at 4:30.
For the best marine migration, you go to KZN. For the best hiking trails, you go to the Drakensberg. For the best flower show, you go to Namakwaland. And for the best in investments, go to Nedbank. Earn up to 10.47% interest with the Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. For better returns, open an Electronic Optimum Plus account today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Let's rewind 6 years, when Twitter was still Twitter, not a letter of the alphabet. TikTok was simply the sound your clock made. And Zoom just meant enlarging a picture. So it makes you wonder, what will the next 6 years bring? Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, covering everything from pistons to gears. So although a lot can change in 6 years, our warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso, together with guests, unpack the crisis, and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to The Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.6 FM in Kimberley. SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
On your way to Pietermaritzburg now, the N3 has a truck crash going up to Cliffdale. The road is closed. All that traffic is backed right through almost to Marion Hill Plaza. Top of the M13 also closed from Cassia Road out towards the N3. So there's massive queues on the N3. The M13 through Hillcrest towards Cassia, also quite a heavy backlog there as well. The option would be come off the N3 at somewhere like Richmond Road, go up the M13 Fields Hill, into Kloof, up the Old Main Road, and then via Boertis Hill and Drummond. Aim to come back on somewhere like Cato Ridge and just work your way around that, staying out of that major backlog. It really is a super heavy queue today. Joburg side, crash on the M1 south at Bayers Nordia. Delays getting down from Four Ways. Also crash on the Mike 1 north at Marlborough Drive. That's heavy coming up from Houghton Melrose on your way through Sandton today. A breakdown and some roadworks around Van Buren. The N3 south is parking back to Alex. Behind that, the N12 and R24 routes into Galuli's heavily backed up as well today. Cape Town having a fairly gentle sort of run through the traffic. The N2 outbound slow to Hospital Bend, and the M5 just sitting in a queue through Maitland down towards the N2 highway exit. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So there are two legal issues we're going to touch on coming up just now, the Phala Phala trial update just now. But let's talk about this first. Also in many ways relates to the president. President Ramaphosa has successfully appealed the December 2023 judgment of the Gauteng High Court, and that judgment that set aside the recognition of the AmaZulu King, His Majesty King Musi Zulu KwaZulu-Natal. Now, the Supreme Court of Appeal has set aside the High Court order. Let's understand what this means with Melusi Kulu, the attorney and legal analyst from Donda Attorneys. Thank you for your time. You're on the National Pulse. Melusi, hello? No, maybe Melusi. All right, I'll tell you what we do. Let's do this. In fact, let's just jump onto another important issue, and that's the issue of the Phala Phala trial, right? So this trial within a trial into the theft of the $580,000 at President Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm in Bella Bella has now been postponed to Wednesday this week at the Modimolle Regional Court. But to help us understand what happened today, we have Pimani Baloyi, the SABC reporter in Limpopo. Pimani, hi.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to our listeners.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Right, so what happened today?
Today was actually a relatively shorter day because we know previously court starts at 9 and ends at around 4 p.m. Today at around 11, we saw some of the accused complaining, informing their legal representatives that they feel the interpretation by the court interpreter was wrong. Specifically, this was when the witness who now alleges that he did not depose a statement to police officers was given his evidence in chief. They felt the interpretation did not fully reflect what the witness was saying, and they felt this is something that is happening all along. The magistrate then adjourned for a short while to figure out, because previously the court interpreter had told court that he had a hectic weekend and he was fatigued. The magistrate then called the senior interpreter to find out if they could acquire another interpreter to ensure that the matter continues. And the senior interpreter said and one could be acquired later, but not today. Then the matter was adjourned for the day because court said tomorrow there is an expected power cut in Modimolle. The matter cannot be postponed to tomorrow. So today, basically, it was just the accused saying the interpretation is off the mark and they feel their case will not be held. But we do know this witness that was testifying. He is saying he did not depose a statement to police, but police forced him to pen that statement. So he was just starting to explain how he was forced when the accused complained about this interpretation, Ashraf.
Okay, so in essence, there were two things: the interpreter and the power cuts for tomorrow. That has now caused this postponement until Wednesday. Did anything else come out of this very short day?
Yes, Ashraf, it's quite interesting because this interpreter is somebody who's been interpreting since the start of this matter, even when it was at the lawyer court for bail application. And he's also somebody who is from the community at Fingerkral, where the accused live, who all speak Ovambo in that area. So it was quite interesting that at this point, after how the trial has gone through with his interpretation, the accused are now complaining that the language is wrong. But other than that, Ashraf, the state called in two witnesses whom they said were actually ready to testify today should the trial within a trial had been postponed to testify in the main trial so that the case could continue. So they were called in to be warned to return on Wednesday. But other than that, there was no other testimony today.
Okay, let's leave it at that then. To Wednesday we go. Pimani Baloyi, SABC reporter in Limpopo. Thank you for your time here on the National Pulse.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, now let's talk about the issue of the status of the Amazulu King, His Majesty King Musi Zulu Kwazilitini. With me is Malusi Kulu, the attorney and legal analyst from Donda Attorneys. Malusi, I appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and to the listeners of the home. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, what has happened? A successful appeal of the 2023 judgment, the High Court. Tell us what has actually happened and the significance of it.
Okay, this is important is that before you become a king, there's an act that regulates the procedure. I'll mention just two: the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act 3 of 2019. They say whenever there's a position of a king or a queen that is to be filled, there must be a process where the royal family must recognize that particular individual. In KZN, we have a different act. It's called the KZN Leadership and Governance Act 2005. And it says almost the same thing, that for Isilo, we say in KZN Isilo, our king is Isilo. So we differentiate it like that. And we say the king must be recognized by the royal family. So the issue is the respondent in this case. They are saying in High Court, that was in Pretoria, that the king was not recognized properly or by the whole family. So there's an argument about the meetings that recognize the king, and they are saying he's not the rightful king because so that was the main argument. But today the court said on the appeal that actually the king was recognized properly and therefore he is the rightful king.
Okay, and the implications thereof now in terms of, well, he's the rightful king. What happens next? What are the other options?
If there's no appeal from the respondent, which is Princess Smarate and Prince Mbonisi, it basically means that the matter is laid to rest and the king will continue his duties as he was doing.
Okay, there we are. Anything else you'd like to add that came out of today's appeal and judgment, that is?
I think what I picked up is that in May, just when the Queen has passed away, there was a meeting where when Prince Charles was still alive, they said that there was an argument about whether it should be Isilo Mr. with the king. But the court said today there was a later meeting in September in 2021 where there was a proper set-up meeting, which is that main meeting that recognized the king currently.
Okay. Let's leave it at that and let's see what happens next. Malusi Kulu, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
I don't love school. I don't love trying to learn like everyone else learns and falling behind when I don't understand. But I do love learning. I do love working to my own schedule and getting the support when I need extra help. I do love UCT Online High School because I do love my future. Apply online before 28 November.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 30754. Like 55-year-old Stefan, who now only pays an unbelievably low 611 Rand a month for his 2024 Suzuki Jimny. With Outsurance, you can drive with confidence. With up to a whopping 5 million Rand third-party liability cover that covers damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident, you can rest assured. SMS out to 30754. After switching, 55-year-old Andre now pays only 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. Get a quote. If Outsurance can't beat what you're currently paying, ask them for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, now what we're going to do, and it's an interesting thing, staying with Ramaphosa once again, right? The president's rather busy. I'm talking about the president of the ANC in this case. He delivered the closing address at the ANC's special NEC meeting that has been happening over the last few days, remember, in Boksburg, right? So what we've done, we picked out some key moments that we think you need to be hearing. Firstly, the ANC president outlined the purpose, really, of the special NEC meeting and what it focused on.
Members of the National Executive Committee and the media present here, the ANC National Executive Committee has just concluded a special NEC meeting that largely focused on the key interventions to accelerate progress towards inclusive growth and faster job creation. We also discussed the whole process of finalizing our election list guidelines, which you will be briefed about, but the main focus for now is on the Economic Action Plan. This NEC meeting follows an extensive discussion that the NEC held in August 2025, where we discussed the state of the economy and outlined the key actions that need to be taken to give effect to the medium-term development plan that has been adopted by government. The discussion was informed by the 3 strategic priorities of the 7th administration. Firstly, to drive inclusive growth and job creation, and secondly, to reduce poverty and also tackle the high cost of living, and thirdly, to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. We are, in discussing all these matters, guided by the resolutions of the ANC's 55th National Conference of December 2022, as well as of December 2024, and the Provincial Elections Manifesto that we have crafted, which reaffirmed our commitment to a fundamental transformation of our country's economy. The NEC reaffirmed our commitment to broad-based black economic empowerment to ensure that we correct the injustices of our past and end the inequality of the present moment.
Okay, and there's more from the ANC President Ramaphosa. He spoke about the impact of poverty, unemployment, and the high cost of living amongst all South Africans, which I think we actually all know about it anyway, but he emphasized the point.
The intractable impact of poverty, unemployment, and the high cost of living on the daily lives of South Africans is unacceptable. The persistence of low-growth economic growth, severe unemployment and the impact of global trade instability requires that we should take action. We must therefore accelerate the pace and massively scale up the efforts that we need to take. We will focus on implementation and delivery. So it is going to be implementation, implementation, implementation. Specifically, we have identified 10 priority interventions to reignite growth in our economy. The first intervention is to use electricity tariffs and investment in transmission infrastructure, that is the grid, to drive economic activity. Among other things, this means preferential electricity tariffs for ferrochrome and manganese as well as steel. We will fast-track the transmission development plan to establish or to install 14,000 kilometers of transmission lines for our electricity grid. The second intervention is to accelerate the recovery of our freight and logistics sector. Progress is being made in this regard, but we want to fast-track this. This includes the implementation of Transnet's recovery plan, private sector participation in rail and port operations, and upgrading of export corridors. The third intervention is to rebuild our chrome and manganese industries. We will finalize chrome and manganese export tariffs, implement defensive duties on dumped imports, and expand alloys and battery precursor production.
Okay, and there's more from Ramaphosa. He then again has had to reiterate a key issue around governance of the ANC, around corruption and the public sector.
Quite a lot of progress in a number of our state-owned enterprises as they are regaining their own capability and also attracting experienced and well-qualified people to come and work in there. The efficient and well-governed state-owned enterprises are vital to economic growth and also vital to our national competitiveness. Corruption corrodes competitiveness. We therefore insist on consequent management, lifestyle audits, and enforcement of integrity standards across the public sector.
Now, lots of complaints people have had on these shows, things like the role of the SIU as well as the NPA and whether they've been able to prosecute effectively or not. In fact, the ANC President Ramaphosa made the point that this position of the SIU at this point in time is reflective of how serious they are about stamping out corruption.
The SIU reports that are coming through are demonstrating that we are serious about fighting corruption, and they will be acted on. The SIU has made tremendous progress in addressing or helping us to address the spate of corruption that has been spreading throughout. Government reform is not only about compliance, it is also about restoring public confidence and trust and enabling the state to lead investment and industrialization effectively. Economic transformation is the moral and strategic mission of the African National Congress. With coordinated industrial policy, strong institutions, and an innovation-driven growth strategy, the nation can reclaim its role as Africa's industrial leader. And we should say that in this regard, many that we interact with globally continue to see our country as the gateway into the rest of the continent meaning that our standing and stature is still recognized.
Right, reaction from you, most welcome on just this current issue, but anything else that you feel that you want to raise. In fact, here's some reaction immediately.
Ashraf, hope you're good, my friend. Happy Monday. I don't know what is happening with me, but I can't tolerate hearing Cyril Ramaphosa, honestly speaking. I always switch off my radio. Because he always come on radio, say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, but there's no result at the end of the day. So I wish this man can be removed as soon as possible. Full of empty promises. For how many years he's been a president? Always saying we and who?
Okay, there we are. I always switch off my radio. That's not a good thing. Don't switch off the national pulse, please don't.
Good evening, Mr. Ashraf. Louis from Pretoria. Mr. Ramaphosa is a talker. Mr. Ramaphosa is a talker. Action dololo. He's been talking since he took over office. Nothing to show up. He's been promising jobs left and right, reducing poverty, nothing yet. But still, even today, he's still talking about reducing poverty. This guy deserves to be the spokesperson of the ANC, not the president.
Okay, I'm responding with a chuckle and you can hear. All right. Right, let's pause on that there and we'll pick up more. There's another one. Do we have to listen to this destructive... No, Ashraf, do we have to listen to this destructive, destroying virus, Ramaphosa? I don't believe a word he says. He's dishonorable and a supreme liar. All boring waffle from him since he became the president from Tim. Is Tim and the others being a bit too hard? I mean, what do you expect him to do? And how do you then compare him to others to say, did the others inspire? Seriously? And did they just talk and deliver as well? Or did they talk and not deliver and also mess up? Just think about it yourself. I'd like to know. 4:30, let's get the news headlines.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, the ANC in the Northwest has told the SABC News that the controversial businessman Brown Oupa Mokgotsi is not its member. This is despite reports that Mokgotsi said he is an ANC member in good standing. Academic activities at the University of Fort Hare Alice campus in the Eastern Cape will remain disrupted as students protest against the amendment of the Student Governance Constitution without the involvement of an elected Student Representative Council. And the chief negotiator for Hamas is reported to be meeting Egyptian and Qatari mediators in Cairo ahead of indirect talks with Israeli negotiators in Sharm el-Sheikh. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hoos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good afternoon, but it's not a good afternoon if you're trying to get out of Durban to Pietermaritzburg. No change in the situation at Cliffdale. A massive truck crash earlier in amongst the Jersey barriers in the roadworks. The entry going to Pietermaritzburg remains closed. The backlog is all the way back, and it is substantial, all the way back through to Marion Hill Plaza. You've got a couple of options. One would be the off-ramp at Richmond Road, run up Fields Hill into Hillcrest, then take the old main road up out through sort of Hillcrest, Boertis Hill and Drummond. Come back on a Cato Ridge. That's one option. Option number two is just to avoid travel if at all possible. Go later once the scene's been cleared and once that enormous backlog's worked through. And it will be the case that some of those trucks that are stuck in that enormous backlog will simply conk out by the time they get up through Cliffdale and Key Ridge area. So it looks like this could run for quite some time this afternoon in terms of delays between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. We're also tracking some heavy traffic conditions around Joburg this afternoon. N1 going south, a crash at Beyers-Naudé, heavy from four ways. A breakdown on the N3 south at Van Buren, so that's all heavily backed up, getting down from Lindbro Park in towards that Bedford View area. And the Mike 1's fairly heavy today from Houghton Estate all the way up to Marlborough Drive, up through Sandton on your way slowly towards Woodmead. Cape Town, crash on the M1 out of town before Durban Road. That's quite slow from Century City, and the M5 is sitting heavily from Coburg Road through the interchange down through Maitland towards the Milner Road off-ramp at Rondebosch. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
To me, eyes on the Proteas women's team at the World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, just keeping you updated with regards to South Africa versus New Zealand. SA currently batting. They're sitting on 119 for 1 after 20 overs. They need 113 runs in 30 overs to win. Remember, New Zealand batted first and they posted 231 all out after 47 overs. We'll keep a close eye on that one. Then in football, Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker has admitted that the Carling Knockout Cup win over Kaizer Chiefs yesterday did come with a great deal of satisfaction, having been on the losing side of this fixture on a few occasions recently. Stellies won 5-4 on penalties after 120 minutes of football yielded no goals, and will face other giant killers, Marumo Gallants, in the quarterfinals after the draw was conducted last night.
I'm never one that sort of holds grudges or looks to beat the team because of 1, 2, 3. But I had a strong sense, and the message was to the players that this is an opportunity for some redemption. We've had close calls, we've had red cards go against us in tight games, and having lost to them 3 times last season, and already this season, apparently we've played them 5 times in 1 calendar year. It just was important for us not to go lose a 5th game on the trot against them. So we just had to, the message was, it's our opportunity to just, first of all win a game so we can get into the last 8, the main objective. And the second objective was to try and keep 11 players on the pitch for as long as possible, which we did today, fortunately, until the last bit of the game. But it was an important win for us against a team that's basically been beating us too regularly for our own liking.
Elsewhere, Chelsea defender Reece James has withdrawn from the England squad. This is due to injury and has been replaced by Man City midfielder Nico O'Reilly, who received his first senior international call-up. James suffered the injury in Chelsea's 2-1 Premier League win over Liverpool this weekend, and O'Reilly, who has been kept at junior levels, joined Thomas Tuchel's squad for a friendly against Wales on Thursday at Wembley and World Cup qualifier against Latvia on the 14th of October. In rugby, Lions head coach Ivan Royan says that there's no room for error in the United Rugby Championship, where even small lapses can cost a team victory. Van Royan was reacting after the Lions fell 22-20 to Zebra in Italy, their 2nd consecutive defeat to start the new season.
Shows you that there literally isn't a bad team in the competition, especially when you're playing away. You really have to play exceptionally well to get a result, and unfortunately we just weren't consistently there, even if it's just 1 or 2 moments. That's where the competition is currently.
In motorsport, Mercedes will take Formula One back to South Korea for the first time in 12 years with a show run in Yori next week. And team principal Toto Wolff thinks that it's high time that sports again made an annual visit to the country. The team will head to Korea on a high after George Russell gave them a 2nd win of the season at Sunday's Singapore Grand Prix, one of the only 3 East Asian stops on the current 24-race calendar, along with Japan and China. South Korea has hosted 4 Grand Prix from 2010 to 2013, and Wolff strongly believes that the tech-savvy population would definitely embrace the product Formula One has become over the last decade. Just a quick check-up on how the Proteas women are doing. Right now, they are sitting on 122 for 1 after 21 overs.
Okay, and we will keep you up to date all throughout the afternoon, of course, on that important game.
Spring is in the air, meaning it's almost time for the 10th SA Garden Day on Sunday, the 12th of October. Celebrate the day with a garden party, lunch under the trees, or cake at a community garden, and invite your friends, family, or neighbors to enjoy your garden with you. Visit gardenday.co.za for inspiration and share pictures of your celebration on social media with #GardenDaySA. SA Garden Day, Sunday, the 12th of October.
We have different languages and cultures, but what we have in common is that we all want a dignified funeral and for our loved ones not to worry about money when the time comes. Trust Clientele to provide you with affordable funeral cover that will pay out within 24 hours. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's SAFM to 48031. SMS now. Clientele Life is a licensed life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates, terms and conditions apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to those facts and figures for the first time, well, today being the first day of the week with Makwe Masilela of Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, you got news locally and globally. Go for it.
Yes, Ashraf, we had a very strong week as investors, that is last week, largely brushed off concerns over the impact of an ongoing U.S. government shutdown. The JSE was up nicely 2.3% for the week, and traders are increasingly convinced that the U.S. will cut interest rates again come October, and the dollar was nursing losses on that notion and helping the likes of the rand to be steady. And today the market theme is more about political instability, that is from Japan to France and the U.S. shutdown still at play, and growing fiscal concerns in some of the world's biggest economies are adding momentum to what we call a debasement trade, that is investors flocking to the perceived safety of the likes of Bitcoin, gold and silver while pulling away from major currencies, and the renewed advance in equities drove the likes of the JSE to reach new record highs before retreating as political surprises in Japan and France caught market participants off guard, and the developments are sending different shock waves through financial markets. But one element they share is it was more of a surprise, and a divided U.S. Senate is due to vote for the fifth time on a stopgap bill that will reopen the government and fund it through November the 21st. Oil prices rebounding from heavy losses that we've seen last week after OPEC Plus agreed to a smaller than expected output increase that is for November, and that itself eased some market fears of global oversupply. We see Brent crude is up 2% at $65 a barrel. Yellow metal notched another record high, with traditional safe haven demand propelled by the ongoing U.S. government shutdown, hopes for a lower U.S. interest rates, and wider political and economic uncertainties. Gold is up 1.6% at 3,948. Platinum is up 1.4% at 1,642. Global stocks are mixed, with the local pulse up a mere 0.2%, lifted by both resources and financials. The rand is flat versus the dollar, 17.23, 23.18 against the pound, and 20.14 against the euro.
So that's Mark, we got you there. It's time now for me to get to you because you have a view. You're on the pulse. Let's feel you.
SAFM, setting the nationwide agenda daily.
Okay, I need to hear what you have to say. In fact, we go first up to lots of response about, well, Ramaphosa's talk today, then the issue of Unite for Change. I almost said Unite for Change, right? And what are the expectations of them? And do they find a space there? And then there's been others about Nigeria. There's been the issues of flotilla, all of that. And there could be other things too. You can comment. Mwande in the Eastern Cape, hello.
Hello, Mr. Chi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. What's your point?
I'm okay. I wanted to speak about this unity of for change, United for Change.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, I wanted to say, these three parties that have made a combination, I don't see these parties really making a change. The reason is that their numbers are so small. It would be better if they would have a combination maybe of 15 or 20 parties, because three of them now combined, they do not even go up to one. I think they are 1%, because they only remain with 5 seats. And also them in getting more voters, I don't see them getting that, because they are in government now, but you don't see any form of difference to where they are, even if they are having those 2 seats or 1 seat. Like, if I can make an example with Minister Delil. Minister Delil has been in the cabinet for 2 times in public works, and public works was a mess in corruption. Now is on tourism. Tourism is dissolving boards and other things. That is why I'm a whole.
Okay. I don't know what's happened there. No. All right, we just lost Mwande for a moment. I'm not too sure what happened, Mwande, but I get your point. And you may be right. I think the Songezo, Zibi and company are fairly new. But the others, I mean, of course, and Lila's been around with her own party for a long time. What difference would she make?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. So, Mr. President talks. He can talk. He talks a lot. You would actually believe him if you were naive, but I'm not. So I find all these speeches overwhelming emotionally because, I like many of South Africans, people have trusted his ministry to bring change, but instead we've seen what has happened. And it's disappointing, very disappointing.
I mean, I think I hear the disappointing part because, there is a sense from people. Some people are really fiery about being upset, but for many others, there's just a sense of like, just accept it. Like, what can we do about it? It's just the way it is. And it should never be like that, isn't it?
Hi, Ashraf. I wonder who still trusts the president in whatever he is uttering. The man should not be trusted. He has never fulfilled anything. All what he promised always empty. Even what he is saying now is quite empty promises. In fact, he doesn't even qualify to sit there. If you care to notice what General Mkhwanazi and General Masimula said, the man lied in Parliament. Really now, Sivuso here.
Lied in Parliament. But I mean, what about the processes that are taking place right now? I mean, aren't you not at least giving that a chance? There's some dramatic things happening. Sir Prince in Zanin, hello.
Hey, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm very good. What's your point?
My point, man, I just want to speak about the three parties that came together. So according to my view, Ashraf, I will say this is the example of what we want, but it's not what we want. The reason why I'm saying this is that their numbers, they're not going to make it, Ashraf, but they are an example of what we want in South African politics. All these politics coming together, joining each other, and then we go for one goal. Because continuing to split Ashraf is not going to help at all. It's just going to make things worse. Look at all the metros. They change mayor every week because of all these smaller parties.
Okay, so you're saying we do need to it's the democratic right to have as many parties as possible and whoever wants to stand. But you're saying it's got to a position where there's just too much and it splinters the country and affects service delivery in this case here. Okay, got it from Sir Prince. From Sir Prince to Joe in the South Coast. I would take it well, I'm not too sure whether it's KZN or Eastern Cape, but you can tell me. Joe, hello.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good indeed. What's your point?
Okay, I'm on the south coast of KZN, Scotland side.
Okay.
A quick one, Ashraf. Firstly, thank you so much, guys, as the media, for keep on informing us and updating us in everything, whether it's good or bad in the country. But my point is, I'm just going to pinpoint, and I want to address whoever with regards to Mbalula. I don't recall any form of whatever department he was given while he was still in sport and went up to probably, I think, in the police. I'm not sure, but I don't recall any portfolio that was given to Mbalula that he has delivered successfully. All what I know, he has failed dismally. That's all I want to say. Thank you, guys.
Okay, interesting. Then if he's failed that dismally, how does he become the Secretary General? And clearly you would think that he would have impressed enough people all of the time. Joe, thanks for that. Pasani in Stellenbosch, hello.
Hey, how's it, bud? How you doing?
Yeah, good indeed. Right?
I'm a black man, trust me, man. It's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? I am originally from Johannesburg. I live in Cape Town, the Western Cape, in Johannesburg. And when I see what's going on, it's unfortunate for blacks or whoever it is the case. You get what I'm saying? So what I want to tell you now that this whole so-called corruption, it has nothing to do with Temisa Hospital. It's bigger than that. So everybody has to make sure that they take care of their future, because especially when we are the youth now who have to talk to people out there and tell them that, dude, we are the youth to have to take care of this country and we are not included. So that's the most unfortunate thing, by the way. And everybody is implicated and nobody is implicated, by the way. So thank you so much, my brother Ashraf. Keep on going. Everybody in South Africa needs to stand up now and make sure that they can step on this country and step by step without problems.
You sound like a politician. We could vote for you. Basani, thanks for that. In Stellenbosch, nogal. I'm just making the point. There's lots more comments via sound bites. Let's just pick them up again on the issue of United. I'm saying United for the third time now. Maybe it rolls off the tongue for me, United, as opposed to Unite for Change. Just think about that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Speaking from Swiss and Devon. I think it's a good idea, Ashraf, just to reduce so many parties that we have, especially Mosi, and I believe that is Songezo Ziv. He has a talent in politics together with Memos, with a stalwart known as Patricia de Lille. I believe that there is something they can do for this country, because these people, according to me, they are patriotic. They love this country. They never sell this country to other people. Even Patricia de Lille, she never sell this country, although she was a member of PAC before, but she stood up for what she believed in. Thank you.
Sold their country. In fact, I'm not suggesting it, but how many politicians who've been around for a long time do you think that their reputations are intact no matter what? Like incorruptible. I remember speaking to Naledi Pandor, a few times, but then once on that fireside chat I had with her, and if you up for it, listen to the podcast of that, we did about a year ago, and she was like, I'm incorruptible. I will not be corrupted. I'm not saying she's right or wrong. I'm saying how many politicians can we say over a 10 or 15 year period are just absolutely top of the game, and they've been that way for a long, long time?
Good afternoon, Ashraf, SA listener, and your team there in the studio, Theo in Cape Town. Ashraf, I'm just worried. I have one concern, not worried, one concern. Auntie Patricia, she love power. Who's going to be the leader of this so-called United? I know the my man also love power, but Auntie Patricia, is she's going to be the leader or not? That's what my question, one of my concern, my biggest concern, because we know her. She jumped one boat to another boat to another boat to another boat to another boat. What's going to happen? It's you in Cape Town. Good luck.
Okay. Do you really think Patricia Little always wants to be a leader? But she played a huge role in the whole arms saga in terms of the role she played about effectively being a whistleblower. You can't disregard that from her, can you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf Mbongo Shondisa Mbuyisa. Mr. Ashraf, I'm very happy that the AfriForum wants to seek private prosecution against Fikile Mbalula. Why the NPA decided not to prosecute? At least the private prosecution will assist us. Why they don't want to prosecute, and who can pay 600,000 for someone for a private holiday spree? He must explain. Maybe the gentleman is a tenderpreneur, will never know. I'm happy that the AfriForum is seeking private prosecution. Thanks.
Okay. Would you go on a 600,000 rand holiday if someone offered it to you? If I offered it to you, what would you tell me? Right, to calls we go. Commander in the Eastern Cape. You are the commander. Hello. No, we just lost you. We'll get to another. We'll get back to the commander just now. Stembele in Flagstaff. Hello.
Hello, Ashraf. You have the likes. You have the likes of Aaron Mutsaleti. Mm-hmm. Those are the genuine leaders in this country, and you are soon going to have one who is currently leading now, Joseph Ziwe Kwahube and your team of wisdom. Those are the leaders that we have seen that are productive, even currently. Thank you so much.
Okay, got that about politicians who have just been terrific at what they've done, and they've been consistently so. Right, Clement in Pretoria, hello.
Hi, Ashfred, how are you?
I'm very good indeed. Right, what's your point?
Now, the topic of the special NEC, ANC, just pardon my illiteracy on the politics and government structure, right? I just want to understand what are the issues that can be discussed at the political party level, being ANC for this instance, and what are the issues that can be discussed on the national level, being the joint government. Because I hear he's talking about expanding on the transmission of ESCOM at the ANC NEC. Are they going to take that mandate and take it to the government, meaning the GNU that is there, or are they segregated? Because he's the president of ANC and a national president, does it mean that he can take the national issues and go discuss it and get the mandate from their party and bring them to the government? I just want to understand, because you're discussing Transnet, you're discussing ESCOM at the ANC level, which is supposed to be on the national level. So is it because of they are in charge of the government, then they have got the mandate to discuss that on their level?
At the moment, I would think so. That's exactly the point, that they are very much a party in government compared to, a party with 0.5% votes. And they've had no track record of governing. So we always think of the ANC at the moment as...
but shouldn't the strategy session be on the national level rather than on the party level? You should have called all the ministers to saying, guys, you are in the art and whatever, but we can utilize your understanding and your opinion on the ESCOM issues as a strategy session for the national. Okay? But then to take it to the ANC, the cadres, what are they going to bring it to us? Because we already lost.
Okay, I hear you.
I just want to get the understanding and the
I hear that.
Let's
Let's see if others call, particularly those from within the ANC, in terms of how they see the role of the ANC right now in terms of report backs and who should do so. Okay, thanks for that, Clement. Right, there's more. Man. Thank you. Thanks for calling in, and keep connected to the National Pulse. Really appreciate that. Here's another. There's so much about the president. I did say the other day, and I'm serious, I'm not trying to lead you onto it, but increasingly so many callers we get are so critical of the president. I mean, is he being given an unfair mark? What about you? I mean, do you not see something about him that says, hey, we don't like lots of things, but hey, look at these things here. This is remarkable,
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. This is Flores from the beautiful Winelands. Ashraf, let me tell you, Cyril Ramaphosa is again talking about private investment and all that in Transnet and wherever. I think that's just, again, an opening for tender fraud. Come on, Mr. Ramaphosa. You need to start act, man. You need to start act. Stop just saying what we're going to do and nothing happens afterwards. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
So what do we do without tenders? I mean, how do you reform tenders if you don't put things out to tender? I mean, the other day someone said, don't put things out to tender, just decide who gets it. And what do you think that means? What do you think that means?
Hi, Ashraf. I wonder who still trusts the president in whatever he's uttering. The man should not be trusted. He has never fulfilled anything. All what he promised, always empty. Even what he's saying now is quite empty promises. In fact, he doesn't even qualify to sit there. If you care to notice what General Mkhwanazi and General Masimula said, the man lied in parliament. Really now, Sivuso here.
Sivuso. Okay. Sivuso very angry. I'll tell you what, let's challenge that. I mean, in terms of, I heard what you said, those are allegations. You have to be convicted to say, hey, the person did this no matter what, right? But by the way, if not Ramaphosa, and I don't mean from within the ANC, which political leader, seriously, has impressed you so much to say this person has got to be part of the 3 or 4 person grouping or 5 person grouping that leads the country? I don't care which political party. I mean, who would be your top 5? Seriously, people that are just amazing at what they do. Politicians, that is, okay? Not outside of politics. Modise in Mafikeng. Hello, Modise.
Hello, Ashraf. How are you?
I'm happy to talk to you. Go for it. What's your point?
I'm quite worried about the youth of today. They care less about what is happening in the country, and this country is their future. I mean, these people that are leading us, they will be no more tomorrow. And then what next? What they know, it's only to say, hey, there's a bash at this place, hey, the gigs, blah, blah, blah. They are sleeping on duty. They have the duty to make sure that the things are going well, like the 1976, 1970s, 1960s youth. If you look at the history, Mandela and the others fought the system while they are still a youth. Unlike the youth of today,
okay.
Things are just happening in front of their eyes, and they care less. They don't worry about it.
I don't know if you can say they don't worry, but fine. I hear what you're saying, Modise. Thank you for that. And this is what many people have strong feelings about what's happening in the country and the leadership we have.
Thank you, Ashraf.
You know, as one of the million faces behind the statistics of unemployment, a young black person, what the president has just uttered now as outcomes of whatever they were talking with his party. Honestly, I'm not even disappointed. I feel disrespected. I feel undermined. Yeah. At this point, the ANC should not be making any more promises on top of the gazillion promises that they failed to meet. So let us speak the unemployed graduate in Mbombela.
Oh, the unemployed. I know you. I tell you what, I did say this the other day. And I'm only talking about the ANC because they've been the party that's ruled, that governs South Africa more than anybody else, right? They seriously just need to listen to talk shows like these. And it's not for me to tell listeners, don't talk about whatever. They need to listen because you can sense not even sense, it's like there's a huge degree of disillusionment from people around the country when it comes to the African National Congress. And all I'm saying to the ANC is listen to these voices and then decide what are you going to do about these voices. Big challenge. It's 5 o'clock. Here's the news with Greg.
Thank you, Ashraf. Northwest ANC maintains Magotsi is not a member, and Hamas negotiator meets with mediators in Cairo. Good day to you. The ANC in the Northwest has told the SABC that controversial businessman Brown Magotsi is not its member. This despite reports Magotsi saying he is an ANC member in good standing. The ANC's Northwest Provincial Secretary, Luis Duramelo, spoke to SABC News on the sidelines of the party's special NEC meeting in Boksburg, east of Johannesburg.
We can confirm that Mr. Brown Magotsi was a member of the ANC until 2020. His membership expired in 2020, and the ANC recruitment policy says once your membership expires, you must renew it within a period of 1 year. If that membership is not renewed within a period of 1 year, you cease to become a member of the ANC. Therefore, we can confirm here now and say Mr. Brown Magotsi, he is not a member of the ANC. His membership has expired a long time ago. We have letters we can confirm from the branch as the basic unit of the organization that he is not a member of the ANC.
The ANC's vow to rebuild and restore the country's state-owned enterprises to their glory days of developmental instruments. Party leader Cyril Ramaphosa was speaking at the closing of their special NEC meeting in Boksburg, which was called to discuss, among others, how to reignite growth in the economy and guidelines for candidates for next year's local government elections.
We need to rebuild and reform state-owned enterprises to be effective developmental instruments. We are already seeing quite a lot of progress in a number of our state-owned enterprises. as they are regaining their own capability and also attracting experienced and well-qualified people to come and work in there. The efficient and well-governed state-owned enterprises are vital to economic growth and also vital to our national competitiveness.
Academic activities at the University of Fort Hare's Alice campus in the Eastern Cape remain disrupted as students protest against the amendment of the Student Governance Constitution without the involvement of an elected SRC. The protest follows the institution's announcement that an interim SRC will be appointed during the amendment of the Constitution. The students are demanding that a democratically elected SRC should be part of the amendment of the Constitution, alleging that the interim SRC will be handpicked according to the interests of management. Student leader Asonele Makwatkaza.
Interim SRC is not student-centered. Those people are not democratically elected. They are, if I can say, they are installed by the management. So now they will definitely be controlled by the management. They will not serve students. That is number one. They will not be bothered in terms of serving students. That will be a huge compromise to students. Starting from the registration period, we're approaching the registration period in the beginning of the year. There are exclusions meeting, there are everything. So those people will then be controlled.
Meanwhile, University of Fort Hare spokesperson JP Ruet says the decision to establish the interim SRC was made by the university's council and he's refuted claims that the institution's security is weak. Finally, the chief negotiator for Hamas is reported to be meeting with Egyptian and Qatar mediators in Cairo ahead of indirect talks with Israeli negotiators. The BBC's Hugo Bachega has more.
What is happening today is the first day of these negotiations of the first phase of this 20-point plan that was announced by President Trump last week. And this is about the release of the remaining hostages, both living and dead. Also the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails and a withdrawal of Israeli troops from parts of Gaza. But there have been reports this morning suggesting major differences over the identities of these Palestinian prisoners to be freed and also the scale of this Israeli withdrawal from parts of Gaza.
Top story, the ANC in the Northwest has told the SABC that controversial businessman Brown Mokhotsi is not its member. This despite Mokhotsi saying he is an ANC member in good standing. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Hus.
In sports this hour, South Africa 170 for 1 after 27 overs. They need 62 runs in 22 overs to beat New Zealand. SA backs rugby champs rethink. And late heartbreak for Lions at URC winless run continues. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Well, the good news is this hour that the N3 Cedar Cliffdale has finally been cleared and the road has been reopened. The bad news is that, well, there's two bits of bad news, really. A, it's just an enormous backlog of traffic to clear through the area towards Pietermaritzburg. And B, we've now got at least two broken down vehicles stuck in the backlog around Keir Ridge and going up to Cliffdale as well. So it's enormous. I haven't seen the N3 this badly backed up for some time. The queue starts at Marion Hill Plaza and it goes all the way very, very slowly up through some single lane sections now around the breakdowns on Keir Ridge and up towards Cliffdale. The alternative route also under pressure with a crash at Maytime on the M13. The M13 route backs from St John's Avenue Bridge. A lot of traffic on the local routes like the Richmond Road going into Pinetown down to Marion Hill as motorists scramble for alternative routes. The option would still be to delay your travel between Durban and Pietermaritzburg. It really is some quite extreme traffic conditions out that way today. Joburg, the N1 going south, quite slow to 14th Avenue. Looks like a breakdown around the 14th Avenue exit. Crash and a breakdown around Galuli. So the collision going northbound on the N3. The breakdown southbound at Van Buren. And that's a really big queue coming through Limbro Park. N12 and R24 routes into Galuli's are heavy as well. And the Mike 1 is sitting with a lot of traffic today between Sandton and Boysons. Cape Town, a police incident blocking a section of Govan and Becky Road through the bottom of Nyanga. There's some heavy backlogging going on there. The R300 heading off the N2 towards Mitchell's Plain is very busy, and an earlier crash on the Service Road in front of Century City has been cleared, but that run out towards the N7 stays busy. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
SAFM's Meeting Point invites you to join Koketso Sachane for a roundtable dialogue on the crime and gangsterism plaguing the Cape Flats. Join us at the SABC1's M1 studios in Cape Town, where Koketso together with guests, unpack the crisis and asks how we can make our communities safer. Tune in to The Meeting Point with Koketso Sachane on Wednesday, the 8th of October, as we unpack this critical conversation. To be part of the studio audience, email info@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.4 FM in Durban.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So on the basis of the conversations we've been having and people so critical of the ANC president, hashtag the president of the country, I asked the question, like, so seriously, who are the politicians? I'm not interested in which parties they come from, and that you think would make up like a top 5 of the brightest minds, political minds in the country to lead the country. I'm just very hypothetical. So here's someone saying, I think Dr. Nasiba Moya from Action SA would be one of them. I wonder what else you think, right? And I say that because there's no question it's a time of political change, and there's even more around political change, as you may have heard over the weekend with, we've had Rise Mzansi, we've had the Good Party, and we've had Build One South Africa, Boza. Well, soon they will be talked about in the past tense because they've come together under this title of Unite for Change. Let's get another thought on that with Professor Stephen Friedman, who's a political analyst from the University of Joburg. Prof. Friedman, good to connect with you as always. You're on the National Pulse.
Yeah, thank you, Ashraf.
Thank you. So firstly, when you heard about this plan, I mean, the rumors have been going on for a few months now, right?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts in terms of where are they going? What do you think?
I'm very skeptical, Ashraf, and I'll tell you why. I mean, there's this, you continually hear that if parties combine, then they'll be stronger. But in our electoral system, that's just not true. All those parties are in parliament. You can't split the vote. You can't even split the vote in local elections. Yes, in a particular ward you can split the vote. But the way our system works is, you then have proportional representation seats, and in local government everybody gets the seats which their votes entitle them to. And if you can't split the vote, it isn't clear to me how you're actually strengthening yourself by combining in this way. And you may actually lose votes by doing that, because there may be people who say, oh, well, we really like Bosa, but we don't really like Rise Mzansi, or we like the Good Party, or whatever the case may be. So there's this myth among the parties that somehow if you combine, you're actually increasing your strength.
I take your point, but I think the end goal of all of this would be that those parties would say, how do we strengthen ourselves to be big enough and to be impactful enough to make a serious impact at the local government election, and then to another shout at the national election down the line, right? And they would know, and I'm talking about these three parties, they would know that based on the last election, they're inconsequential and probably best served by some of the people who've done very well in these parliamentary portfolio committees. But outside of that, no. So what other options would they have had?
Well, the option you have is working at building your own base. And you don't have to, you can cooperate on things. There's no reason why you shouldn't take joint positions on some things and communicate that if that's what you want to do. But this idea that if you take three small parties together, they suddenly become a big party, that doesn't work. The other thing, of course, which might be an issue, if you listen to their press conference, Sungeza Zibi in particular was adamant, well, they're not going to talk about leadership issues at the moment. But very often in this country you find that attempts to unite people or organizations come apart because everybody thinks it's a good idea to unite around their party and their leadership, but not around the others. And, at some point, if they're going to be uniting, and then they're going to have to talk about this leadership issue. And, the experience in this country in the past has been that when organizations get together, you actually end up splitting more than you unite because everybody argues about what the terms are. So, I'm just trying to figure out what they're going to get out of this. And I think they may well, be harming themselves. There's no, if you feel you want your party to grow, you have to go out there and connect with voters and convince them that you have something to offer them. And I don't think you necessarily do that by saying, we're now a six-member of parliament party rather than a two-member of parliament party.
Because in particular, I mean, even the good party is also relatively new, but in particular the Mmusi Maimane party and Rise Mzansi, they've just contested effectively one election. So whatever their vision and their goals were before, in effect now, that's been squashed. They may say it's for the greater good, but what it does suggest that their policies, however good it may be or may come across, were not convincing enough for the electorate to vote for them in sizable numbers, isn't it?
Well, for the whole electorate, yes. You see, I think, Ashraf, your question is, well, what should they be doing? And I think another issue which needs to be raised is that smaller parties in this country should really be focusing on particular groups of voters. And that seems to me to be more a strength than getting together. So in other words, you identify who are the people who are likely to vote for us. And you really work at that. I think part of the problem is all these parties have convinced themselves that they're actually appealing, to 20 million people. Where actually they should be appealing to, say, 500,000 people who might reasonably be expected to vote for them. And I think that's a far more sensible strategy of saying who are the people who are likely to vote for us. Let's work very hard at convincing them to do it, rather than this kind of broad appeal of, they've said, well, we're the centrist party. Quite honestly, whatever that means, I don't know too many voters who are going to get excited about the idea of a centrist party. So I think, they'd be far better off, as I say, working out who their niche is and working at that, to this kind of broad appeal which tends to get lost.
Well, it's interesting your example of the niche, because I'm looking at, two parties jump off the page immediately, and they're both faith-based. One is the African Christian Democratic Party, and the other one is the Al-Jamaa Party, essentially a Muslim one. How have they been successful at what they've done, effectively targeting a very narrow base of people?
Well, I think they have to a certain extent. I mean, look, the vast majority of Christians don't vote for the ACDP and the vast majority of Muslims don't vote for Al-Jamaa. But that's not the point. The point is that you've got, in both cases, parties with a fairly small base who've been able to get together, who've been able to have, particularly Al-Jamaa in many cases, been able to have far more influence than one would have expected, precisely because they know they're not appealing to the whole electorate. I think deep down ACDP and Al-Jamaa probably know they're not appealing to all Christians and they're not appealing to all Muslims. But if you identify that there are a substantial number of Muslims and Christians, or enough of a number of Muslims and Christians to get you seats to vote for you, that's an example of the success of that kind of strategy.
And the last thing, I know you need to go. The point about no leader at this point in time, but ruling via a council, so like a collective leadership right now. I mean, your thoughts in terms of the precedence of whether that's worked before they get this elective conference down the line?
Unless you have very clear, it's very clear to people who's in charge and what the structures are, it tends to end in tears. So there's one other point I think is worth making here, and that is that politics are changing. And if you look at what's been happening in local by-elections, for example, votes are being spread over a whole range of parties. I believe very firmly that the days in this country in which one party gets 40% or more of the vote are over. And therefore, if you're a smaller party like the three we're talking about, then really your future influence lies in getting into the right coalitions. And there's certainly room to cooperate on that, so that they have common positions on which political coalitions they'll join and what their terms for doing that will be. And that could be quite a source of influence. Far more influence than try to pretend that if the three of them get together, they can somehow become, 15% or 20% parties.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, even that one, the example of maybe the Patriotic Alliance, and I think the relatively high profile of its leader is just that, isn't it? Pandering to a narrow base, getting into the right coalition, and getting for them what they want, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, just the last thing. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about this, that you spot something down the line that may change the way they see things?
Well, I think that as it becomes clear to parties that we are moving into a new situation, I think you're going to hear far more from parties about, how they position themselves in coalitions than about how they're going to suddenly double or triple their vote. Because I think people will start realizing that if you want to influence decisions, you do it by getting into the right coalitions and playing your cards correctly in the coalitions, rather than trying to be something which you're quite capable of, which you, quite frankly, you're not going to be able to be.
Of course, they could hire you as an election strategist, but they're not going to do that. Professor Stephen Friedman, I much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse. Thanks for joining us. Very important insights, and I would suggest that those parties pay attention to what was said. It's so interesting. And you're a voter. Would you go for a centrist party that it means a lot and means little? Or do you see the vision of the collective, although the collective, in terms of its current numbers, is not particularly big at all? It isn't, right? Yet I would accept that. I think, Patricia de Lille's got a position as the Minister of Tourism, so they've been able to negotiate. And then, of course, from the Rise Mzansi side, they've had a situation where they've had key portfolios and they've been able to manage that. I'm talking about Scopa. So, huge interest on that. But if they want to, can they get into power? Can they start getting into serious levers of power? At this point in time, no. But let's see what happens next, right? Of course, they would like to have a clear sense of the national pulse and what they're feeling. Perhaps they should listen to the show. Here it is.
Greetings, South Africa. My name is Walter Steenbok, SABC Sport football analyst. My favorite African dish, pap and mokgodu. My top three holiday destinations will be Thailand, followed by Cape Town, and of course Zanzibar. Yeah, between a train driver and a pilot, I'll really choose to be a train driver. Because I'm on the ground. It's very, very safe, and I hate heights. Between fruits and veggies, I think I like fruits, especially apples. I love to kick penalties against. Between Sipho Chine and Ronwen Williams, I'll choose Ronwen Williams because I'll put it right in the middle. I saw over the weekend.
Do not miss out on electrifying football analysis on Match Days with Walter Koyoto Steenbok. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Okay, I'll tell you what, talking about the National Pulse and in light of what was said about religious groupings, what about this? The CRL Rights Commission recently launched a Section 22 ad hoc committee. Okay, what's their plan? They will monitor and root out abuse in the religious sector. So, that could be good news, isn't it? Well, let me tell you more. According to the organization, the ad hoc committee will, among other things, tackle incongruous incidents ranging from forcing congregants to eat grass to sexual exploitation as well. I think the issues of money fundraising on a massive scale probably could fall under that as well. But I can tell you now, there's also been opposition to that from some people saying, hey, this is control of how we think in our own narrow religious persuasion. You can't do that. Let's understand more of this with Prince George Matlango, the Deputy Chair of the CRL Rights Commission. Thanks for joining us, Deputy Chair. Much appreciate your time.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. Thank you for having me.
Right, now you've obviously heard the intro. There's the plus sign in terms of why there needs to be monitoring. There's also the flip side, which is, hey, don't come onto our turf. We can do what we want. You're going to decide how we're going to pray, and we don't want to listen to you. Explain it.
I think let me give the background slightly differently to how you framed it. We launched this Section 22 committee following years of the report that we commissioned, which was termed commercialization of religion and abuse of people's belief systems in 2015-2016. This then was taken to Parliament, and the Portfolio Committee listened to us as the Commission, as well as various other religious leaders across the spectrum within the Christian religion specifically. So what we are now doing is we then, as the new commission that was appointed earlier this year, in January this year, we then took a resolution as the commission that we should establish this Section 22 so that we can therefore implement the resolution of the Portfolio Committee, which would have taken into account the various inputs from those that presented there. So that's where this Section 22 stems from. And I think importantly that we need to note is that this committee is not going to deal with the abuses and so forth, as you alluded. It will simply go around the country to consult all religious leaders in the Christian sector so that they can come up with a Christian mechanism for self-regulation to deal with the issues that you rightly raised, to formulate the registration of Christian religious institutions, as well as registration of Christian religious leaders or practitioners. So, in a sense, it is a committee that will be consulting other religious leaders in the 9 provinces of South Africa.
Okay. Now, just to be clear, are you saying Christian religious leaders only, means people of Christian faith, or are you talking about different religions as well that make up the religious composition of South Africa?
This Section 22 committee will only be focusing on Christian religious or Christian religious sector. So we will deal with other religious sectors later, but this committee is specifically focusing on Christian religious
Okay.
sector.
Now, your point about, you're not going to root out things that, in fact, you will encourage them to self-monitor. But the reality is, even within the Christian faith in South Africa, not everybody thinks and believes the same things all the time. I mean, there are huge differences of interpretation, as there would be in other religious groups. How would they then, be forced to sit at the table, not just to sit, but to agree on a monitoring mechanism when sometimes the disagreements are fundamental?
I think we are precisely creating this platform as the CRL Rights Commission for the Christian religious sector to engage amongst themselves to ensure that they themselves as religious leaders can come up with those mechanisms, because I don't think the issues that our communities are concerned about and that we have received complaints on are in dispute by the Christian religious sectors, including those that may have some issues around this establishment of this Section 22. So the merit of the issues remain. I think it is the mechanism that they all need to sit around the table in various provinces to come up with these things. We have said as the Commission that we will not be involved as the Commission in these proceedings. We will only provide administrative support to ensure that the Portfolio Committee resolutions are implemented, and that is where our involvement will be at. So it is for the Christian religion. In other words, we created just that necessary capacity for the Christian religious leaders to engage properly and come up with mechanisms to deal with these matters.
And what do these Christian religious leaders feel about it?
I think that overwhelmingly, based on the launch that we've had and based on the committee that we've set up, is that there is a lot of enthusiasm that has been shown, and also to the process of ensuring that they will be able to reach every corner of South Africa. I think that is a very good thing to go, because it will go a long way in ensuring that the community issues are addressed at the same time. So I think for us it is important, but it is also important to note that there are those that are not in favor of this Section 22 committee, and we encourage that they should go and participate in the various provinces. The notifications will be promptly announced through our various platforms as well as the media for them to go and engage their fellow religious.
And those that are not in favor, but when they say they're not in favor, what is it that causes concern for them?
I think the argument that they've placed has been more around that the CRL Rights Commission or this Section 22 wants to regulate religion. We've consistently said that it is impossible to regulate religion because it is a right that we cannot violate because it is enshrined in our Constitution. So therefore, meaning that they should not be worried about the regulation of religion. All that we have been consistent on was that there has to be a mechanism to regulate the religious leader, or to find some mechanisms of dealing with misconduct amongst their fellow religious leaders. Just like you would have to be to be sanctioned by somebody if you are in the media. There is a body that will do that if you're a lawyer. There is a body that will deal with you if there's misconduct on how you perform in your profession. So it has got absolutely nothing to do with the regulation of religion.
All right, I hear that. Thanks for that. Your time, Prince George Mahlangu, the Deputy Chair of the CRL Rights Commission. Lots to consider there. I think the broader question could be to say, I hear that issue about, keeping them in check, but some may say, doesn't the law do that anyway? Does it always, why does it have to be internally regulated? If somebody feels strongly about a person, just, charge them. But maybe that's being wishful thinking from me. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg.
In the headlines, the Department of International Relations and Cooperation has been formally notified by Israel that South African citizens who took part in the global flotilla to Gaza are set to be released from detention and will be repatriated via Jordan tomorrow. The ANC in the Northwest has told the SABC that controversial businessman Brown Makhotsi is not its member, and the AmaZulu royal families welcomed a judgment of the Supreme Court of Appeal overturning a High Court ruling which invalidated the president's recognition of King Misuzulu Kazwelithini. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
warning about this exact scenario. So the crash going out of Durban up to Pietermaritzburg, the truck crash at Cliffdale, has been cleared for a while, but we issued a warning saying because the significant backlog of the truck queue during this closure, some of those trucks will just overheat and break down, and that's exactly where we are now. Multiple trucks broken down between Shongweni and Keyridge in the roadworks, so you've got single lane sections, and you've got an enormous backlog still to clear through the queue right back at Marion Hill Plaza. Don't underestimate that. If you're sitting off from Durban now, you're going to be in the long haul. In fact, just refreshing my system, that queue's back through the plaza and back down towards Richmond Road. Also very heavy now, the M13 from St John's Avenue Bridge up Fields Hill and down towards the Hillcrest. So your two major highway routes linking Durban through to Pietermaritzburg are under extreme pressure, and they will be for some time. The option still, if possible, to delay travel. Also, just staying in Durban, a crash up by Sabaya, so quite heavy from the Schlanker Gateway exit as you line up towards Belito in the airport to get through that one. Joburg N3 is under pressure. A breakdown near Helden Ace. Traffic heavy from Limbro Park. The Mike 1 today from Santon all the way down to Ormonde. A lot of traffic on that route. And a breakdown on the M1 South at 14th Avenue with traffic very slow from sort of four-way Sunning Hill area today. Cape Town, not too many incidents in the traffic with the one exception of the Govan and Becky run through Nyanga. Now that road is closed. If you're going between sort of Claremont and Guguletu Khayelitsha, you won't be able to get through on Govan and Becky. That's going to force a lot of traffic down through Mitchell's Plain on the M7, so that's heavy. And the R300 into Mitchell's Plain, queuing up from Delside down towards Stock Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Tumi, you have your eyes on the cricket.
Yes, straight at the Cricket Women's World Cup, where South Africa are currently on 202 for 2 after 34 overs. They need 30 runs and 96 balls to win. Sunay Lees and Marizanne Kapp at the crease. Lees on 61 and Kapp at 10. New Zealand posted 231. They were bowled out for 231 after 47 overs. And then Kapp, talking about Marizanne Kapp, she has become South Africa's most capped player in women's ODI international history at 155 ODIs. It's one more than Mignon du Preez, who last played for the national side back in 2022. Then in rugby, SA Rugby is reportedly supporting Rugby Australia CEO Phil Ward's proposal for the Rugby Championship format from 2027. The Sansa tournament won't be played in 2026 when the Springboks host the All Blacks in an 8-match greatest rivalry tour, including 3 tests from 2027. War wants to adopt a traditional home and away format for the Rugby Championship rather than switching to a tours-based structure. In the meantime, the Rugby Championship ended with the Boks and the All Blacks tied on 19 points, but South Africa finished top thanks to a superior points difference. The Wallabies and Los Pumas ended well short in end on 11 and 10 points respectively. And coach Rassie Erasmus says that the team showed good control across matches even when the momentum shifted, and that managing those moments under pressure will be key going forward.
One of our goals is to stay in the present, do well, and not just focus on World Cups like a lot of people want us to do, and we understand why they say that. But we believe that when we give different combinations chance, different guys under pressure chance, you will have a little bit of a lack of rhythm, and there were patches today where it was brilliant, and then there were, I think, 2 tries we just handed to them. They didn't have to do a lot there, and obviously those moments that it also last week, those moments we must cut out. But I think in the Rugby Championships, not overall, I think we did better than the other 3 teams playing the Rugby Championship. So it's a problem, but I don't think it's one of the biggest problems that some of the other teams might have.
In football, Kaizer Chiefs assistant coach Cedric Kaze says that the club will deal with goalkeeper Ntwari's penalty substitution refusal internally. This is after the Rwandan international defied instructions in their Carling knockout elimination against Stellenbosch FC. Now, with the game headed for penalties after a goalless draw at Cape Town Stadium, Chiefs had lined up Bruce Vuma to replace Ntwari in the dying minutes of extra time, but the 25-year-old stood his ground and refused to come off, forcing the technical team to abort the change, and Chiefs went on to lose the shootout 5-4.
I believe in that kind of situation, it's something that we're gonna handle internally. But it's he felt that he was comfortable to go on the penalty and help the team. He was coming from a good intention. Maybe the way wasn't as good as it should be, but it's something that we will address internally.
Elsewhere, CAF has reported a profit of $9.48 million, around 162 million rand for the 2023-24 financial year, marking the first profit declared in several years. 4 years ago, CAF was facing a significant financial deficit and multiple challenges, including several legal disputes, and President Motsepe initiated a strategic turnaround plan aimed at making CAF and African football globally competitive and financially self-sustaining. And in terms of their revenues, they've grown up to $166.4 million, which is around 2.8 million rand. Just before I head back to you, Ashraf, predictions, obviously.
Yeah, but wait, on the CAF part.
Yeah.
No wonder when you and you know, I've been to Cairo, they all, besides Sundowns, they talk about Motsepe, because exactly your point, he's brought money into continental football that they've never dreamt of. So yeah, point taken.
It's an attractive market. Just looking at the predictions from
last week.
You're
at work today, I've noted that. Okay.
Yes, I am at work. Okay. I did say the Springboks would win. They won. I thought Liverpool was going to beat Chelsea. How did Chelsea win? Anyway, Chelsea won. Spa Proteas versus Australia. I did say that South Africa is going to lose, so Australia won that one. I thought Oscar Piastri was going to win the Singapore Grand Prix, but George Russell is the one that won. And I did say that Stellenbosch FC is going to beat Chiefs.
And that was the one that... Well, look, the Boks one could have gone the other way around.
Yes.
Very tight.
Yes.
And the Chiefs one. Where do they go next, man? Sure. That season, they were all wearing Chiefs tops. They're not wearing it any longer.
Yeah.
But listen, quick one. We've had somebody called about, in CAF, you had this rule, if you play in CAF football to encourage women's football, you have to have a women's club, right? In an affiliated CAF league or something. So someone asked a question about, I think it's Orlando Pirates. Right? What's the position?
In terms of Orlando Pirates, let me just agree with you that yes, the rules are that a club has to either operate a women's teams themselves or have a written agreement with another entity that operates the teams. And according to CAF, actually, Pirates are compliant because they say that 42 participating clubs have entered into an agreement with a women's team. And when they named all those clubs, Orlando Pirates is there.
Okay, so they don't have a club called Orlando Pirates?
No.
Okay, but they've got a tick.
Yes.
Okay.
This is according to CAF.
All right, thanks for clearing that up. Yep.
Yeah, with that said, ke na Tumeng Kgapele Modimo.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m, only on S3. S3, open up.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Well, it's the Monday after the weekend, which means you set the agenda. Jimmy Moya, who hosts the SAFM Market Update, that comes up from 6 to 7. Jimmy, what are you setting the agenda today?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. We're going to be taking a look at some interesting news out of the Takeover Regulatory Panel, or Takeover Regulation Panel of South Africa, rather, as they've thrown an interesting curveball in the Barloworld deal. That deal was set to be concluded soon. We had an offer on the table. There was a consideration that was going into it. Seems as though there's a new spanner in the works there. We're going to take a look at that and see what we make of the developments out of that. We're also going to have a conversation with the International Trade and Administration Commission, ITAC, on the back of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition looking to adjust the export controls related to chrome ore. We're going to speak to them and get a sense of what adjustments are going to be made here and how they're going to affect the chrome industry in South Africa. Then we've got a conversation with the pension funds adjudicator, taking a look at the report that they put forward in Parliament around some of the insights they've had to look at from a complaints perspective. It seems there are complaints around the two-part system. There are complaints that employers aren't paying over the contributions they should be paying over. We're going to take a look at all of that with the pension funds adjudicator and see what sorts of complaints they've had to deal with. They've had more than 10,000 complaints that have been considered when putting together this report. So some interesting insights out of that, no doubt. Then we've got a conversation with Old Mutual Insure, taking a look at the trust economy in the context of the agricultural space and what farmers need to know to make sure that they have the best levels of trust with their suppliers as well as with their customers. And then because it's Monday, we've got our digital drive. We're going to be taking a look at some interesting developments out of Emirates. Last week, Emirates Airlines imposed, or rather put into effect, a new ban on power banks. There are certain restrictions when you travel with a power bank that have come into effect as of last week. So for international travelers, this doesn't seem to be new. It seems there are other airlines that are doing this as well. But given the size of Emirates and given that a lot of people connect through Emirates to their end destinations, I thought it would be worth looking at as a part of our tech feature, and as specifically, it relates to power banks. So we're going to do that with our resident tech specialist, Nafisa Akabor. She'll join us later for that. But in more important news, markets have had a very interesting start to the week, particularly in the case of the gold price. I'm currently looking at it now, $3,956 a fine ounce. We may very well hit $4,000 a fine ounce tonight, tomorrow. By all accounts, probably this week. We're only about $43 odd away from $4,000 a fine ounce. So I'm going to look at that in terms of market movements and see what we make of it. On Friday, you'll remember we said that there was no data out of the US. Non-farms payrolls data did not come through from America. The markets has digested that and seen that as a rather negative sight. But on the positive side of things, if we look at international markets, the Nikkei is up about 4.7%. That is a new record gain for the Nikkei, and this could have something to do with the fact that Japan has a new prime minister, and she is a female prime minister, the first female prime minister, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to look at that in terms of what that's done to market sentiment. The government bonds in Japan have had their best performance off the back of this news as well. So Asian markets, that was the clear biggest winner there. The Hang Seng was down about 0.7% on the day's trade. South African markets fared a lot better than the mixed bag that we saw in Asia, with our markets finishing out in the green. We did have a sector close out in the red. Industrials were down 1.2%, but that was offset by financials being up by 0.95% and resources being up by 1.1%. As a result, the all share up 0.13%, the top 40 up 0.12%. If we look at other international markets, mixed bag in European markets. The only winner there, really, the DAX in Germany, up about 0.1%. US markets are currently in the green in the case of the Nasdaq, up 0.5%. The case of the S&P up about 1/3, but in the case of the Dow Jones, down about almost 0.1%. Commodity side of things, Brent crude price about $65.20 a barrel. We know that that is good for our fuel price and the fuel cuts that we hope to continue to receive. Platinum pricing $1,667 a fine ounce. Palladium $1,353 a fine ounce. The rand 17 rand 20 against the US dollar, 23.17 against the British pound, 20 rand and 14 cents against the euro, 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand 38. But Bitcoin, $125,000 a Bitcoin. If I'm not mistaken, this is new all-time high territory for the price of a Bitcoin. Not in rand terms, though, because in rand terms, we are at around, actually in rand terms, yes, all-time highs as well in the context of the rand. We are at around 2,151,000 rand. Obviously, with the stronger rand, that is boding well for the Bitcoin price in rand terms, but still 2.1 million rand is what you'll expect to pay for a Bitcoin. We're going to look at these and other market movements when we come back a little later on, obviously after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. You enjoy your, the show. And as far as a power bank is concerned, I'm going to tell you now, I had a power bank. I lost my power bank. I'm in absolute need of a power bank. When I travel, now I'm listening to your story about Emirates. I need to listen to Nafisa, definitely so. Right, I need to get your calls because you're on the pulse right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launchpad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Right, let's get to hear what you have to say, right? First, we go to Joburg. There's a mayor's issue, you know that. Lionel, hello.
Yes, good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners.
Thank you.
When it comes to voting, whether it's local, national, or provincial, number one, I'm not a member of any party. And number two, I reject with contempt P&P, which is promises and personalities. I'm interested in reality, and that's what drives my voting in those elections. And I'm going to give you a perfect example of that reality. In 2006, the ANC was ruling in Cape Town, and of course the whole province as well. When all the people of Cape Town saw how the ANC was denigrating and destroying Cape Town, they voted for the DA. At that time, the leader of the DA was Tony Leon. Who did he appoint as the mayor of Cape Town? Helen Zille. Next point, there is a worldwide competition. Who's the best mayor in the world? In 2008, she won the best mayor in the world. Now, that doesn't happen for nothing. When the people of the Western Province saw what Helen Zille did, and the DA
All right,
did
I'm going to
Town,
push you. Lionel, I hear you. You made 2 points. I have to, you make one final point because I do need to move on. Please.
Yes, I understand. So, it's a no-brainer that Helen Zille should be voted as the mayor of Johannesburg. A no-brainer at all. Thank you, Ashraf.
Okay, got that. Well, I'll tell you what, if it's a no-brainer,
Thank
it's
you.
up to the electorate. Are they that convinced by what Lionel has just said? Tabiso in Mahikeng. Hi, Tabiso. Tabiso, hello. Tabiso gone for the moment. We'll get Tabiso back as we unite for change.
3 political parties. Listen, I would have understood and agreed with them if it was MK, EFF, and another political party with a little bit of muscle. But when 3 political parties join hands and they can barely make 1% of the total vote, then you know what? I give up. Anonymous in KZN.
Okay, you are clearly not convinced.
Hello, Ashraf. The point raised by Clement is the point that I've been saying, that Parliament need to change the electoral system on the election of the president. The president, if he's elected, he should be the president of the country, and he should do the mandate as per country request, not to throw the land because he's afraid that he'll be recalled by the party. The party should not have the rights to the president if he's on a parliament elected.
Well, that would require a complete change of the way we do things, and you know that, right? But many people, well, are supportive of what you're just saying. Will it actually happen? Let's see.
Hi, Ashraf. For me, the people in the ANC that did a good job were Nelson Mandela, Trevor Manuel, Tito Mboweni, and Praveen Gordon. Yeah, those are the people that I thought did really well.
Okay, made your point. Tabiso in Mahikeng. Let's unite for change. Okay, well,
Afternoon, Ashraf, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
Look, Ashraf, these smaller parties are now on a survival mode, you see. They came in last year like house on fire. They were promising people this, promising people this. We gave them seats, some of them, going from the ANC and joining them because they say we'll do better than the ANC. But when you look, these small parties, Ashraf, they only plan around the ANC sailors. They don't have anything to give to South Africans. To confirm that, let me take Action SA for example.
Mm-hmm.
They came to the Northwest. They got one seat in the Northwest. They don't even have an office in the Northwest. They are nowhere to be seen. You see, all these smaller parties, including this one, Rice Muzanzi, they were running in the province. They don't even have provincial offices here.
Yeah, but I think you know why it costs a lot of money, and it's also very, very difficult. And you know, to convince people like you and me to vote for them when you first time, a first time party is not easy. They have to really convince you. So it's not like they promised the world. I don't think any of the parties did.
We're going back to the ANC, Ashraf, because ANC is democratic. You've got elective conferences at the ANC where new leaders are being elected.
All right. When you say you and your chummies, yeah?
Yes. These smaller parties, they are undemocratic. They don't have elective conferences. You can check Action SA, Rice Mzansi, the Lilies parties. You can check all of them. They do not have.
In fact, this new party said they will have an elective conference. Not today.
That is the problem. That is the problem.
Okay.
That is the problem. Thank you, Ashraf.
All right. Tabiso says we are going back to the ANC, back to the future.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and SFM listeners. Ashraf, there is one caller who called one day and said, all these people, they complain, but when elections come, they all go and vote for ANC. So this is a constitutional democracy. People must vote for whatever who is going to deliver. They complain about ANC, but when voting comes, they go and vote for the same ANC. Thanks, James Johannesburg.
Well, statistically, you're right. Of course, the last election changed a lot of things, but it also does tell you that they're not that convinced about the other parties, if you get my point.
Ashraf, for me, the politician that inspires me the most, my man, is Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi. You know that guy, Ashraf? He knows how to keep his house clean. Ever since he has been deployed in these various ministerial positions, I've never seen him running away from accountability. It's Dr. Aaron. If that guy can be the president or can contest president of the ANC, I will vote for the ANC this time around.
Okay, but is it likely? Because I think you need to get branch support. Does he have that?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners. You know, our country needs Traore. Our country needs Ibrahim Traore. This thing of voting and democracy and what, it is designed to put the situations down there and do nothing else. We can see important.
Okay, you're very convinced about that. I mean, some may say Traore has done some amazing things since he took over in Burkina Faso in a coup. But there's also other suggestions to say, hey, all is not perfect.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. The 5 politicians I can think about at this stage. 1, Ramaphosa. 2, Ramaphosa. 3, Ramaphosa. 4, Ramaphosa. 5, Ramaphosa. There's no one who can replace him at this stage. Maybe in the next coming 5 years after the next elections. But for now, I don't see. The people coming here on air saying all the bad stuff about Ramaphosa, they are not members of the ANC. We members of the ANC and branches of the ANC, we still have faith and we love Ramaphosa. We know his strength.
Okay, well, listen, at some stage, even Ramaphosa will have to end his term as the leader of the ANC and then the leader of the country. So who from within the ANC, in fact, do you see as the replacement of Ramaphosa when his time finally, when he calls it a day?
Afternoon, Ashraf. This is Wandisile from Mount Freya. I just want to quickly respond to the gentleman that made a statement about us as the youth sleeping on duty. I think the statement is coming from someone that's not well informed with current affairs. It is kind of insulting to hear someone say that about us. I think he doesn't know the current stats of unemployment and what's happening around the world, especially South Africa. So that's it, man. Kind of disturbed with his comment.
Okay, there we are. Disturbed with his comment. Here we are. This story is just the strangest one.
Ashraf. It's Aluta again here in KZN, Newcastle. So the ANC is busy telling us that Brown Mokhosi is no longer a member. But Senzo Mchunu is still a member. Balula himself is still a member. Kate Matlala is still a member, or maybe a founder. And that Julius Mkhwana, guy from Ekuhuleni, is still a member. In fact, all the corrupt cronies are still members of the ANC. In the ANC, they are all the same. Brown Mokhosi is just a true reflection of an ANC member. He's actually on hold of all the qualities of an ANC member. Thanks, it's Aluta and KZN.
Thanks, Aluta. Continue. So are you saying that, in fact, it's not so much whether he's a member or not, it's like now that if someone gets caught out, what should one do about that person? Yeah.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf Matabuche. Ashraf, I just want to say the Unite for Change is not going to last. The reason behind that is the three of these people have got their own pride. They don't want their spaces to be occupied. There will be a battle between the three, or among the three of them, to find who should be leading the movement they are establishing now. I'm assuring you.
Okay, you just know it. Let's end with the theme of an empty promise.
Hi, Ashraf. How are you? I'm all right. Hi, Ashraf. We are sick and tired about the empty promises. Empty promises. Even if he speaks now, he doesn't have that power. This man, Temba here, FS. Thank you.
Okay, Temba from FS, Free State, I think it is. That's FS. But you got your own power, he's got his. Right, look, that's the show. Thank you for listening. We'll have many of the interviews up as a podcast coming up, and you can check it out, safm.co.za. Do share that with your friends as well. And yeah, talk about it, debate some of the points, including, if not Ramaphosa from within the ANC, then who from within the ANC? And then what about Unite for Change? You think it's going to happen big time or not? Here's the news with Greg at 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. South Africans detained by Israel to be released, and early results from Syria's elections. Good evening. The Department of International Relations and Cooperation has been formally notified by Israel that South African citizens who took part in the global flotilla to Gaza are set to be released from